Yeah, which is gonna.
Well, that's why I didn't rush.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
We have time.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Full recording whenever you're ready.
Okay. Yeah,
Gonna open the study session there.
it's open, you go.
All right, we just started recording. Hello, Mayor, Council, I'm here to give you an update on the lease with the golf club for the operation of the Leavenworth Golf Course. We did meet with you, gave you an update several months ago. To give an update to the council, I worked with our attorney Tom Brasstraw on a brand new lease. Using a template or a base that was being worked on in 2019 by your previous city minister, Joel Walensky and Tom Brasstraw. That negotiation resulted in a simple addendum to the lease that's what we have now. That addendum expired in June of this year. The lease that I furnished to the golf course asked for a lot of things that they were not willing to concede in first draft. I brought that to you in an executive session, gave direction to try to figure it out. The more the attorney and I drilled into things, we realized that the most important thing for the city was access to the property, feasibility for potential future municipal loan. I subsequently furnished to the golf club or the board of the golf club an addendum that was brought us through the current term, which is 2028. They were happy with the rent agreement, and then I discussed with them the importance to the city of acquiring access for us to do feasibility for potential municipal supply wells. I learned during that meeting that it was important to them that the lease extend at least through 2033. The golf club intends to make a pretty decent investment in the property. Their golf sheds on the upper level are deteriorating, and they have designs to raise and rebuild the golf cart sheds on the property. That would be an investment of $300,000 to $500,000 worth of number. So after that conversation, came back, and the attorney and I are still working through a draft lease to present to the golf club that would take what we wanted, what they removed, and make some compromises, and then include the most important thing to us, which is the provision that we have access to the property for two potential well sites that are towards the southern end of the property. We also discussed the potential of utilizing a portion of the property for parking for river recreation users. They have issues with that for their own reasons. One thing I'm going to ask that we put in there is that when they completed their golf cart rebuild project, they'll increase parking capacity in your upper lot, and we can then potentially revisit the idea of amending the lease area so that we could allow people to park in the lower parking lot while they're accessing. So that's my update. I know it's brief. Had intentions to have this golf this lease done for expiration, but again, I provided the golf club with a draft in October and didn't get a single comment or red line edit until the morning day. So that's what I've been working on. There will be more on that in the coming months. Hopefully we can get this all done by the end of the year. Questions?
Yeah, are you thinking the access for the wells before the 33 deadline?
Oh, yes, we need to do that sooner rather than later.
Right.
RH2 was the firm that was selected to do that project, to conduct the feasibility for a depot source swap. And again, that project is being funded by the ISO work group. We have identified, or they have identified, I didn't do anything. They have identified potential well sites on private property on the other side of the river on East Leavenworth Road, as well as several potential well sites on city-owned property at Adjournment Park and at the golf course. But we do need to complete that project over the next years.
Yeah, you're gonna drill the wells in 2025.
I was thinking, okay, I get that's what I was after, is when are we thinking about the wells?
Yeah. So I did explain where they were. We had a map. We talked about that the provision that any damage done to the golf course in the process of doing feasibility would be rehabilitated by the city at our expense. But I also want to include in this that if it does turn out that that one of the well sites is feasible and is our only location to drill an additional well, that we will be able to move forward, develop that one for this supply.
What we're talking about now is just the test well site. We won't have. We gotta find what's feasible before and then get the funding.
And I did stress to them that I believe it is our preference that we locate a well on the other side of the river for redundancy's sake. If something were to happen to that well field, it'd be nice to have a hydroelectric connection that is not tied to.
We received an email from Colin Forsyth today regarding potential for increased public use of the golf course area. Are there any opportunities there that we currently are not taking advantage of with regard to the golf course property that could make it a little bit more open to the public?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. What I can say is that it's not safe for the public to be traversing the golf course during play. And they shouldn't be traversing the golf course during play, and if people do, and the golf club definitely refers to them as trespassers.
Right.
Because it is if you are supposed to be a paid member of the golf club to be on the property during golf season. I know that there is public access during the winter months through their relationship with the Leavenworth Winter Sports Club. That proves cross-country ski trails, extensive trails on the property, and they also groom and maintain cycle. First.
Just in response to that, and Colin and I have talked about that too. If you got a chance to look at his example with Chambers Bay, and if you look at that, there's a lot more land. There's a lot of room between fairways and things that you can get more trails and things in. This is a fairly tight, fairway to fairway, and there isn't, other than maybe go, if you did something around the periphery, maybe, but even some of that is their tees and stuff go right up against the edge. So it's a little bit, it's not apples to apples when ideally, yeah, it would be wonderful to get, public use and trails and things, but I don't know where you could locate those, like Selby was saying, safely on that.
Also, the property is contiguous to Enchantment Park and Waterfront Park, so there already exists public trails in the area. You have questions? Thank you.
All right, moving on, Bear Wise.
Hi, I'm here to talk about bears. So I wanted to give City Council an update on some of our bear-wise activities, and I understand this is a lot of information, so tonight don't worry, I don't expect you to remember this, but I want to provide you with as much information as possible. But before I begin, I want to share something really cool with all of you. I received a note from Nicole Jordan with DFW. She is my calm person on the other end. And I'm just going to read it so I don't say it incorrectly. So the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife held a regional award ceremony in late August. The event recognizes outstanding achievements of WDFW in North Central Washington. This year, the staff working on Leavenworth Black Bear Outreach are given the Team of the Year Award for their efforts and strong relationship with the city of Leavenworth. Which I think is really cool, right? Yes, and Nicole just wanted to express her thanks to the city of Leavenworth for our willingness to work together and continue to find solutions to these issues. So I think that speaks a lot with where we've been, where we're going, what we've done. So I want to share that first before we go in. And as we move forward, you can see we've been doing a lot of work. We've been doing some outreach, we've had some media coverage. We've been doing some messaging, we've been doing some collaboration, we've got signs in the works, There's all those things going on, we've been in talks with waste management and what their plans for residential could look like. The commercial plans are still being vetted, and we hope to know more later this fall. But what I'm hoping to hear from council tonight is we'd love to know sort of what our next steps are as a city to actually become Fairway's community. And so I'm basically going to refer to your last page in your tab packet. Is what's next, right? So from your previous presentation that we had with DFW a little bit ago, they had sort of 3 items, and one was upgrading our commercial codes, which we can't do at this time because we're still waiting for a viable solution for our commercial plans. 2 is working with residents to convert to bear resistant containers. Right now, we do have the option for residents to opt in for a bear-proof tote. It is $15 extra a month. And I think the last time I talked to waste management between Chelan and Douglas County, there was a fairly small number of people actually having bear-proof totes in both counties. So, and then that number is included for waste management of what the cost was. And then the third is an act simple ordinance is meant to reduce known human wildlife attractants. And that would be a city code. So, and that could be anywhere from requiring people to have a bear-proof tote or secure their trash when they can put out their trash can, to going very on the other end, everybody has a bear-proof tote, non-negotiable. So there's a lot of different ways you can approach a code. And so in your packet, there are several different ordinances that other cities who are Bear West communities, with the steps they've taken, sort of the enforcement, and those are out there. So what I'd love to hear, if you have any questions regarding our recent Bear West efforts, we're going to be doing some additional outreach just because bears are going to be starting to go into hibernation. So they're probably going to probably see a little uptick in activity as they start to store away for winter. And then hopefully we can continue to work on this. So this spring we have a really great team plan for Bear West. What questions do you have for me that I can?
Are any of the Bear Wise discussions including talking about opting into the composting program? Because you kind of eliminate in your regular residential trash, the need for a Bear Wise tote when you're pulling all your food out of your tote.
Yes, that is a great question. And I believe, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. So Robert is the wildlife specialist for DFW, kind of uses this analogy. I'm going to try to see if I can say this correctly. So even if you compost and you have a bear-proof compost container, it's like a perfume bottle. If you take the perfume and you pour the perfume out, does the bottle still smell like perfume? The answer is. And so what he's saying is, even if you have like meat packaging or stuff like that, and you're taking that out and you put that in the regular trash, that still could be an attractant to bears because it still has the smell of meat on it, even though if you're composting everything you can. So your food waste or anything like that. So, but I mean, the likelihood is less. So, which is why you could opt in for bear-proof tote or just have it. I mean, it's really also just as simple as not putting your trash can out at night, just having to set it out. You can't set it out before 6 a.m. the day up. That's a huge thing too. So, but that's my understanding. Is that correct? Did I do that? Okay, perfect. So, do you have to do
Yes, if the bear cans are hard to get into, what is their way of emptying them? When they come by, are they going to have some kind of a hook that does something or another? Because if they tip it upside down and it falls out, then the bear could tip it upside down and it falls out.
So it's a specialized latch, and it's my understanding that waste management equipment is able to mitigate that latch with their hauler the way they do it. It's just tough for a bear to do it. They haven't figured out how to. Have you used a bear-proof tote before?
No.
Okay, so it's really, I had to use one last night. At our compost at the vet hall. Yeah, they're tricky. I was like, oh, if I can't get into it, oh man, okay. So so you reach under, and so there's a little bit above, and then there's a latch that you basically switch to this, and then you pull. So it's kind of like, it's like a swinging and a lift motion. So waste management equipment is built to be able to dump those without having to worry about it. But bears, don't tell the bears, that's how you get into it, so.
You got to do 2 things at once.
Yeah.
So when they're upside down, as long as there's no, like nothing touching the bottom of them, the weight of that will pull it open. But if it's just tipped upside down, the bear won't be able to get into it. So it's really like you're saying, the way their equipment grabs it and tips it, when it's upside down is when that latch opens. But a bear would have to have it freestanding, so pick it up off the ground in order for that latch to open. And like Kara described with how you open it, a bear can't open it that way, so. I know talking with Robert specifically when they first got these bins, they're considered bear resistant by, what was like the Yellowstone methodology, something like that, and they ultimately take them to bears. And there's an enclosure near Yellowstone. And they just let them play with this bin. They have material inside. And so I think it's a 30-minute period that they leave it in there. And as long as the bear can't get in, then it's, well, I think it's a lot more rigorous than that, but that was my understanding of their testing procedure, and then it's considered bear resistant. So.
They haven't figured out how to turn it upside down and shake it.
I know, yeah, again, it's like that, it has to be it's suspended in the air and whatever, but
It's a two-bear job.
Yeah,
Well, we've got our own, Leavenworth video of a bear trying to get into it, of a bear can, right? That,
The bear,
Beverly,
no, oh,
Bev took one.
oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. One of our office people.
Were they doing it here? in Watch?
It was, no,
Well,
they.
you know stuff.
Oh,
I have a
good.
question.
Well, you're in the middle of taking notes.
No, I didn't see that. I know that one successfully got it, one at WRI.
Well, that was because it wasn't law.
Excuse me, I didn't know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
You've probably talked about this, but I like the idea of number 3 because it involves education, which I think is always a good thing. And can you remind me if the main issue is in the neighborhoods or it's in the park? You know, is our main friction between the bears and us around our houses, or is it farther afield?
It's both.
Okay.
So it is both. So, I mean, obviously, the commercial district, they have, I mean, those are major food attractants for bears. So, because there's so much of it, and because of where it's located right by the water, the food is frequent. So, but, like, just as simple as having your birdseed feeder, those are huge bear attractants, just having those. So, yeah, so it is in the residential units, and we've even seen videos or people sharing stuff where they are in a sense feeding the bears, but
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, so it's both. So to truly be a truly bear wise community, we would need both residential and commercial, because what happens too is, so you don't want them to become habituated. So even if we fix the commercial problem, but we weren't fixing the residential and they were still finding access to those resources, then they would just sort of use it to that area, so.
Well, I do like number 3 and educating our citizenry about this. I think that, you know, we live right in the middle of the woods, and that's just a piece of it. I know that my husband has his cabin on a lake in northern Minnesota. There's a lot of bears there. They let the feeders be out during the day. They take them in at night. I mean, things like that, and that's what I do in my yard. I never have a problem. Things like that would be interesting for people to know about. There's a lot of fun educational opportunities there, I think. So I'm very much in favor of the 3rd option.
Great. Any other thoughts or comments or direction?
What kind of, do you need, like, just of these 3 options, what we think of, or just, is there something really you'd like to hear from us?
Yeah, I would just like to know where you'd like to go. So, because if you would like to explore some code amendment to code, so something that we could do in a combination of outreach, but also have code enforcement where we would be backing our outreach with something like, hey, moving forward, XYZ trash cans have to be, you know, secured, or they need to be bear proof, or they can't be out before a certain time. Which I think is a great way to go. And then, and also if you, obviously we don't have the information on the commercial totes, but if being able to explore that option that is coming. And if you want to look into waste management, they have their sort of commitment to what if the city wanted to explore that opportunity to make every residential can bear proof, what that investment would look like in the city. We could ask to look for funding from other partners potentially. So if those are options that you want us to explore to really continue to be a truly bear-wise community, then city staff, we will work towards that effort and come back in a couple of months with more information.
What were you saying about code enforcement?
Code enforcement, so that's something where we would coordinate with most likely the DFW. So for example, DFW actually does code enforcement for unsecured trash. So already, so they have enforcement officers that will go and find people for having unsecured trash that could lead to habituated bears. So that's something that's on the city level, that's something we could look at, but it would probably most likely be a partnership, but it would need to obviously be a code change that we would have to. So.
I don't know how much confidence I have in code enforcement, because we have a number of codes and they're not enforced. For example, parking on the streets after 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, there's cars parked all over. There's one guy that's been parking in different parts of town in this big gray red.
But so, and obviously, and that's where DFW would probably look into a partnership of that, so obviously they're experts in, we don't manage wildlife, we remember our history, but that's something we can partner on. So, if the city council wants to move that way, we could bring up I could bring up some options with different levels and different resolutions on different variances. Like, I think a good example is, BAM, they don't even allow you to have pumpkins out during Halloween. Like, I mean, so that's like to the extreme, and I think Tahoe, they have every can bear fruit, like there's just everything bear fruit chuck, so there's no in between. So there's lots of, but depending on where you are, you can do lots of different. So, but if you're interested in code, then we can do that. So.
I think the pumpkin police is pretty draconian, personally for me. I realize we're not ready to have the conversation about commercial, but I think that once we are, that really needs to, I mean, it's a big smelly searchlight for bears all around. And I think that, yeah, that and I think for a lot of folks, that extra $15 a month is going to be, I think a lot of people would jump at it. I think there are a lot of people that would see the threat of bears as very theoretical, and the extra, what is it, almost $200 a year is very realistic. So whatever options we have to make it as easy as possible for folks to choose that option, I'd like to look at that.
Yeah, what's the incidence with bears in the commercial district? Do we have any idea of how impacted? I mean, we've got aren't all the bear wise already down there so that it's somewhat secure? I mean, do we know how that's working out?
So I would have to talk to DFW to see what the most, because this year we've done a lot more outreach, so it'd be interesting to see if there's a difference in this year from last year. So I do know, so one good example is someone didn't latch their bear food so accurately, and so the bear got into it and then took a nap in the trees, you know, so those trails and stuff like that. So and then the bear came back the next day to the same trash can, but then they latched it correctly, and so that's a good instance of error and correction. But you have to remember that people, for those that aren't composting into their poop totes, none of our trash cans are secure. They're not typically locked or they're not bear-proof. So typically, yes, they are attracting bears to get into it.
Oh, I had the idea that we had the bear watchers throughout the downtown.
No, we rolled out
Not even close.
30, you asked?
I did
Yeah, so
too.
so you're thinking of the pilot program that we did with the Defenders of Wildlife. So I
Probably.
think all of those are currently out, and those are in hotspots. So that's like the school district, and we have a few and the downtown fourth, but those are there's not that many of them. I think there's like maybe less than 50. So, and everybody else is either using the big.
Same with the always had.
But there are people who are doing the composting which are bear food, which is really great. And that's something we do want to promote, is because we can compost, and those are in bear food tubs too. So, but yeah, right now our 300-gallon commercial totes, they're not bear food. But and like the big bellies, those are wildlife resistant. So, which is helpful to also reduce the unsecured trash that could, so we've taken lots of good little steps, but you're right, really making all the commercial ones there is going to be a great thing. And we'll have hopefully, I think Joe said October, November, we're going to have hopefully more information on what that looks like, what it would cost, is it feasible, does it even work for, which I'm really excited about, so.
Will he have any ideas at that time about potential grant opportunities to help?
Potentially, yes. So there is an opportunity that may be available next year for us, which is why it's a great time now to get direction from council, especially as bears are sleeping. So hopefully we have so.
Another piece to this is budget effect. And so So for instance, she was talking about the commercial accounts, if we wanted to implement that 750,000. We don't have that kind of cash in the garbage fund, so we would definitely have to borrow. Or get grants, which would be optimal. And borrowing would, of course, put a burden on debt service, so we could at least spread it out rather than hit each business, because I'm estimating about $2,500 per 300-gallon container. It's pretty spendy, but that would be a crucial one for us to contemplate. But also, we don't have to do it right away. We can amend the budget next year. If you guys do decide to move forward with it, let's say in the spring or something, we can always look back at the garbage rates and consider a slight adjustment for a debt service payment.
Travis?
Hey, Travis.
Hey, I'm curious about, you talk about thinking about subsidizing commercial, but then also if we're gonna do that, it's kind of equal participation with residents, right? Everyone needs to participate in making it more secure for the bears not to get into the garbage. So I think everybody's in the same boat, commercial or residents. And if commercial is going to get subsidized, we should subsidize our residents.
Well,
And
just to clarify, Travis, it's not a subsidy. The commercial accounts would actually pay for the debt service payments over time. And residential currently is with waste management, but again, we can look for grant opportunities and maybe combine both, but our current enterprise fund only receives revenues from commercial accounts. So technically, state law, we cannot use those funds to subsidize the residential accounts.
okay, and I'm just kind of being devil's advocate here a little bit, saying that if the businesses are getting a break, the residences, but we're all trying to make it more challenging for bears to get into garbage. But then, I mean, I live on, when we looked at the map that was presented to us a couple months ago, we could see the hot spots, and I live on 10th, 11th and Commercial, kind of by WWRI, and I'm on a hot spot, and we've got a bear that eats this cherry tree next door several weeks out of the year. And so they're definitely hot spots. When we talk about creating a plan or different phases, would it be appropriate to do deadlines and phases with residents too? If we make an ordinance, that there's people that don't have the aggressive bears like certain areas, and give them a little more time to buy into this program might be appropriate. Is that fair? I don't know.
I guess I'm just curious, maybe there's somebody, so I understand what Travis is saying, and obviously like that would be imposed by rates that if you were to buy the commercial bins, then the ratepayers would pay for it that way. Has there been any conversation with waste management if the bins were to be purchased? Like if we had a city ordinance requiring the residential bins to be purchased, and then that fee would ultimately just be passed on to ratepayers, but they would own the bins versus having.
They offered that you could buy it instead of renting them, and then they would be yours, and then your rate wouldn't go up.
Gotcha, okay.
So they would, and what was it, a couple hundred?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they're not cheap. They are, yeah, I would say they're.
Yeah,
Okay, but it's
on the
not
side.
but it's a couple $100, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
It's 300.
Okay.
and you have to replace them maybe every couple of years, just so.
Right.
But if we did do an ordinance that all properties have to have, it would either be your garbage has to be secured or in a bear-proof bin.
Right.
So for me, I would just make room in my garage to have my trash inside my garage. So I wouldn't have to incur that extra $15. Not everybody would be in that position, but I bet you see an increase in people building sheds to secure their bins.
And something to keep in mind, it's only those months where the bears are active, so that April through October, November. So that's another option too. I know that waste management would, like, if people want to opt in for those months, and they can opt out for the winter months. So there's lots of different solutions, so.
Change up even.
You could phase in your code to just start with the real basic stuff, like don't leave out bird feeders or this and that. And of course, that would be complaint driven, and we all know how well our neighbors are paying attention to what we all do. So the complaint driven side of it, if there was a bear problem in a certain location in town, I think those around would notice. But you don't have to go full enchilada and put everything in and maybe require the bear-proof cans right away. And so Travis, I think that answers your question, is you could do a phased-in approach with the bear-proof cans in particular, if that's the ultimate goal.
I also think some neighborhoods are more vulnerable than others. Some neighborhoods have no activity ever, and so I don't think like something across the board makes sense.
I think you have to do it across the board, actually, because what they'll find, and I think what they've said is they'll keep searching. If you make some bear proof, they'll move to the next. And so if we're gonna be equitable to everyone, I just think we all share it by either, again, securing them or getting them. And that's the best way to force them back out into the county where they can bother the county folk.
So I just want to summarize. It sounds like, perhaps I can come back and hopefully what I'll do is I'll come back when I have some more information about the commercial totes. I'd love for you to have some concrete numbers, especially since we're budgeting, and we can sort of look at that instead of this high level sort of, wag. So I can come up with some, maybe a couple of different versions of resolutions, one on the lower end and one on the higher end, and you can get from there. And then I'll also work with waste management to kind of figure out some options of what that could look on the residential side, and we can give different levels. And then also hopefully we'll have the commercial side with different levels. And then we can keep kind of pursuing the three and keep working towards the paradise. Does that sound good to all of you?
Yeah. Kara, I was thinking, what about towns like Kalispell and Whitefish? How are they handling this? Are they doing, do we know what they're doing, what their strategies are?
For Kalispell and Whitefish,
Or just
I could ask.
mountain towns that have, obviously they've got to have bears, or you find towns like us that have bear issues. And what are they, like Banff does something, but Banff's pretty big.
Right.
Maybe even what they do might be worth us checking out, but something similar to our situation and size.
Yes.
I think we discussed this.
Banff is about the same size as us.
But yeah,
Banff is actually about the same size as us.
2,200.
Yeah, I looked this up during a meeting a couple months ago when Banff was.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
When we were talking about parking stuff.
we were,
For Banff.
that's right. And Banff's about the same size.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
But I could definitely, and that's why I brought the resolutions to you today, is because some of these are they're all across the US. And so, and it's lots of different, but I can definitely look at those more similar, like to like, see how that fits.
Okay,
But really exciting stuff. I want to say thank you for all the support for being Fairwise and letting us move forward with this. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I think it's really accepted too. It's really great work we do. So, is there any other questions or any other tidbits you want to add before you see me again in a couple months? Talk about that?
All right.
No,
Thanks, Kara.
Great.
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, council rules review.
Everyone else. Yeah, I'll talk to you. But I like to meet with them.
Is this a new process?
I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I didn't get the memo.
I'm just copying.
Okay.
And actually, it's way more comfortable talking here. than-
I agree.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Being around.
Yeah.
I like
And I
it.
can see all of
And is
your-
that mic on?
Yes. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the council rules, it has been brought to our attention that we would like to change how, we do abstentions. And so I've talked to our city attorney and I've talked to lots of other clerks about this, and, in Robert's rules, an abstention is a no vote. However, in talking to other clerks in other communities, it has been, where they do have a no, where it is a no vote, they do have, exceptions. So where the mayor can't be a tiebreaker, they feel that that's not an appropriate time for people to abstain, because then nothing would ever pass. Essentially. So there, during ordinances, during. Audit errors on there. during ordinances, grants, revocation of franchise or licenses or any resolution for the payment of money. So those are the things that the mayor can't cover. So those would be, what I'm proposing is those are the times when you could not abstain. And the other thing that other jurisdictions have done is having an explanation as to why you want to abstain from the vote. So you would have to say, you know, I missed, you know, 3 council meetings and I just don't feel I have the information to make an informed vote. So that's what I have for that. The other thing that, so I'm being worst case scenario Andrea here. And I've been to the Clerk Institute, and I've been to a conference and a couple of things. And there's a lot of talk about hate speech and just people using their time to, and it's not just being mean, but it's like awful, horrible stuff. And so when the mayor came into office, the time limit for speaking was removed as at his request, because he wants people to be able to speak freely. I'm not a big fan of that. Not people can speak freely, that's fine. I'm a big fan of that. But just being able to talk for as long as you want. I would like to institute a 3-minute rule on public comment. That way, and it will apply to everybody. It's not just, you know, but then if the mayor wants people to continue, they can. But we have a mechanism to shut people down. Because it has to be in a policy in order for us to shut people down, according to our city attorney. So I would like to put that back in, if that's agreeable to you guys. And I have done a couple other things, I'll just tell you this isn't in the council, but the mayor has talked to, by my request, has talked to the sheriff, and we have a sheriff in town whenever we have a city council meeting, just in case someone needs to be ejected, they can be here very quickly. Like I said, I'm worst case scenario here, you know, hopefully this will never happen. But I'm just very, very concerned, because it's happened to a lot of towns, big and small, here throughout Washington. Any questions? Yes, Shane.
Was there a reason why you decided on 3 minutes?
It was arbitrary, but I feel like that's a good amount of time. I've kind of been keeping track of how long people talk.
Okay,
And that
okay,
way,
yeah, so you have, yeah.
Yeah.
kind of-
3 was
Yeah.
also the past language.
Huh?
3
was in
was
the
the
past
past language before we removed it.
I'm wondering, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not keen on the idea that the mayor decides who's gonna talk longer than 3 minutes.
and we don't have to have it in there. We can just cut it off at 3 minutes for everybody.
I think it has to be fair to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not keen on the 3 minutes necessarily either, but
I like the proposed language as long as it is set in place equally amongst everybody who wants to speak. It gives flexibility where you don't have to just say you only have 3 minutes. You know, if the mayor or team members running the meeting, you know, wants people to have 4 or 5 minutes, this language allows for that to happen as long as it's applied equally. I think that that's effective.
I think that's the key.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
As
I
long
think
as it's
in the
applied
old
equally.
language, it was very similar to this, if not
I
identical.
think this isn't, yeah.
And typically, the mayor in the past would only limit the 3 minutes when the house was packed and it was a hot topic. And you made that announcement before people started speaking.
Yep.
In the other cases where you only had perhaps the 3 that are sitting here today, you might not put a time limit at all. And you would just allow them to come up and speak.
But we just need a mechanism in place, so if things go awry, then we can stop them at 3 minutes.
Travis?
Hey, I'm curious, on section 7 about the abstentions. How did the discussion, what was the discussion with city council when this was passed to let the mayor be a tiebreaker? Was this in the recent, in the past 5 years, or when was this passed? And what was the discussion? Why was it determined that that was a good solution?
That's via state law.
Okay.
Those are the things that the mayor may not be a tiebreaker for our RCW.
Okay, so what we currently have is in the black, right? Beyond these exceptions, any abstention required voting by a city council member may be counted as a non-vote, a vote.
The vote.
I'm trying to
It was
read
a
what the
vote with the
current,
majority, provided however, if there's not a majority, such vote shall be counted as an affirmative vote.
okay,
Currently, if you abstain, it's a yes vote, unless the majority says no, then it's a no vote.
You go with
So-
the
yeah, so so this is a state law, or we've decided on this, that's the way we're gonna handle abstentions.
Yes, that's what was currently decided, and I don't know when that was put into the rules, I don't know.
Okay,
I think
As
it's
long
been
as
a
I've been
long
here.
time.
Yeah,
and we can keep it as is. We're not breaking any state laws. We can keep it as is, right?
Yeah.
There's just a discussion of if we want to change it. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And
Go ahead.
and what the reason we want to change it was because
There was council members who felt like they didn't want it to be going with the majority. They wanted it to be a true non-vote,
okay.
right, Rona? That
Me-
was one
me
of
too.
yours, yeah, and Sharon's.
I was one of the people that said, can we just abstain? You know, is it possible to just abstain and not have that be a vote? Yeah.
Counted.
Did that affect the decision made during that vote? Okay. It's too heavy, right? The point is like an abstention is kind of weighs too much right now.
Yes,
Is that worth? Yeah.
it is a vote. If you abstain, it's either a positive or a negative vote, but it is
Based on the
still a
majority.
vote.
Mhm.
I think they would like to have it changed to a non-vote, so you can abstain. Except for those certain circumstances is what I'm proposing. And then if you do abstain, we just need to have a reason as to why, and
Okay.
you can abstain.
And then.
And then so, yeah, if there's a tie, what are we saying? We're saying we don't want the mayor to make that decision. So then if there
No,
is a
the mayor
tie,
would make it. The mayor would make that decision if it's a tie and it's an allowed item for the mayor to
Right.
break the tie. The mayor can now break the tie with a vote.
right?
If there's
And
only 6 of you here and it's a 3-3 vote, mayor gets a vote.
Well, only on certain things.
Right, no, I'm just saying, there's certain things, but there are certain things you can't, and that's when you couldn't abstain.
And
Yeah.
according to Robert's rules, if we have a tie, then it doesn't pass.
okay, so that's okay. So right. I just want to
And
make
we
sure.
do
Okay.
Robert's rules, right?
Yep. Yeah,
But we don't follow that particular part of it.
right.
So are
Sorry.
those things that you listed in here too, and I missed them?
Robert.
The ordinance and the
Yeah.
grant.
It's under section-
Yeah, they're,
Section 18.
18.
Right here.
No, not
Not 18.
18 here.
In the blue.
Oh, in that. Okay,
and that quotes the RC.
Since the mayor cannot break a tie on franchise license or revenue, money, blah, 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 or ordinance.
Can I ask a question while we're,
Yeah.
okay, so, you know, we're supposed to follow Robert's Rules of Order in the council meetings. And so I have a question related to that and this. If people are limited to 3 minutes, which I think is reasonable in general, can they then be called on again, or do you have to cycle through and let other people talk?
That's again, another thing you guys can add. Robert's rules is not clear on that.
Hmm.
And the 3 minutes is not Robert's rules either. That's just what I'm proposing.
mhm.
Yeah, so basically, if somebody wants to keep talking, you know, it would be up to the mayor to allow that or not allow that.
And I think, again, if it's a hot topic and you've got a room full, you're gonna ask them, to go through one, they're gonna get one shot, right?
Well, not always, obviously.
Well, but that's how, if that's the case, that would be the way you would do it, is just do one. If there's 20 people that want to speak, you just give them one shot.
I would personally, if we gave them more than one shot, I could foresee an instance where folks would choose to tag team. I go, you go, I go, you go, I'll go, you go,
Yeah.
I'll go, you go. And I personally feel like that breaks the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here.
We've only had a,
Oh, right.
it's okay. We've only had a few times that I can recall under Mayor Farber's tenure that she had a timer. And I mean, this room was packed. And there was 20, 30 people speaking to the item and there wasn't, I get to go again.
Yeah.
I can recall the mayor saying, no, I'm sorry, you've already had your time.
And as far as that goes, I can put that in the rules that you guys, you know, people. can
Speak once on an issue.
time, and then that's that.
Well, I think I'd prefer that since on the 13th, actually, people did speak more than
More
once.
than once.
Yeah.
Well, they also didn't speak in turn, so I mean, they weren't called on either, so.
Yeah, so, you know, the parliamentary procedure, I was a recipient of some non-compliant parliamentary
Yeah, right.
procedure on the
Right.
13th.
And I'm going to give you an official apology at our public meeting. Because I didn't handle that and I'll own it, you know, that was not done well and we'll move forward and do better. But yeah, partly it was allowing them even to talk from there instead of coming out.
Yeah.
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 Because that initiates that idea that I'm in my chair and I can talk. So, yeah, we'll make sure if they're gonna address us that they come up and then you can regulate, you know, one instead of, but yeah.
So anyway, because that happened to me personally, and I've seen it happen before. And there are other things about the nature of what occurred with me that were not parliamentary. So I'm interested in perhaps saying, putting in writing that there's a rotation of people and people get to talk. I mean, in that case, people talked more from here than we got to talk as council members, which I thought was unfair. Because I don't get to talk to everybody unless we're all in this room. So I'd like to see that really clear.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into this, so if regarding the abstaining votes, if you have two people who abstain, you still need 4 votes, even if they're, okay, so
Yeah.
they're just non-votes, but they're not like they're not counting as a vote.
They're not counted as a vote. Well, currently they are, but we are proposing that they are not counted.
Right.
So we had a motion on the floor, you know, 2 people abstained, 4 people voted yes, then it would pass. If we had a motion on the floor, 1 person abstained, we had a 3-3 tie, it would not pass.
Okay.
So,
The way I've seen us vote, I think it would be extremely rare that we'd have a number of abstentions. I mean, the one time I wanted to abstain, I just didn't have enough background to vote.
right.
I don't think that would be commonly happen.
Right.
Yeah,
So my question, I guess. You would count the majority of the people who are voting, you would not count the non-vote. So if you had 2 out of 7 people with an abstained vote, you need 3 to 2 to pass it of the 5.
no, we still need 4.
Oh,
Four
okay,
is
that was my question, is whether or not,
Anything to pass, we need 4 votes.
okay,
Affirmative.
regardless if they're abstaining, okay.
How would that be worded? Let's say let's say 2 people abstained and 4 voted. It would just pass, period. You're not gonna say that abstain is a no vote. You're just gonna.
No, how
Okay.
it would be written, like in the minutes, is it would be 4 to 0 to 2. So the 2 would be the abstain, and then it would say who abstained,
Okay.
so that's how it would be recorded.
I guess, Andrew, my concern isn't so much with the abstention. It's, if we have someone engaged in hate speech,
Mhm.
I don't want to listen to that for 3 minutes.
I know, but we have,
I mean, I think there's gotta
that
be-
we have to contend with.
There isn't any way we can just say,
There is no way, because they can take us to court and they would win, because we have,
deny them.
denied them their ability to
speech.
speak. However, we don't want to listen to it for more than 3 minutes.
Right.
So the 3 minutes gives us the ability to, however, there are some caveats to this.
They can't threat, they can't, there are.
Right, there are.
I'm just one, yeah, what are
So
the,
like, the caveats are, they can't use profane language or imagery with their, voices. They can't, they can't disrupt the meeting. That's the biggest thing. So if you can stand up here and say hate speech without yelling, without pointing at people or moving around, you know, just being disruptive, then you can have your 3 minutes. But until when you start being disruptive, you start yelling, you start, you know, doing things that are not protected under the First Amendment, we can shut you down.
so what happens in that case? They say they start that process, they get out of hand. There's a mayor that says,
Our friends, the sheriffs, are nearby.
Hmm.
And the mayor has a button, he can just push and they will be here momentarily
right,
and they can eject them.
Where's that button?
what's been,
I can't reach
what's
that
been the
point.
experience that you've heard of in other councils where this hate speech, you know, has it gotten to that point? Or-
Yeah, well, okay, so a few of them that I heard of, like one was Mercer Island. Got hit really bad. Fortunately, theirs was on Zoom, but they didn't have anything in policy written down that they could turn it off or, you know, shut them down at any point. So they took them to court. And I don't think anything really came of it other than they had to write a policy. They couldn't
No
do
real
it again,
consequences.
basically. It's like, okay, you know, well,
Don't do that again.
yeah, basically, you learned your lesson, you know, do better. So, yeah, so I'm just trying to, I mean, I'm not anticipating anything bad happening.
Right.
But I am just, like I say, I've heard enough stories that I'm a little worried.
I think it's a legitimate move to
Mhm.
limit the speech and somehow categorize, so when if it is hate speech and it gets out of control, there's that we do summon someone right away, because it's just not justified that people would have to be subjected to that in public in any way.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'd like to mention, were you done, Zeke?
yeah,
I'd like to mention the more likely case that we do encounter here sometimes, which is, and Selby and I were talking about this, which is just having a code of conduct for people that come in here.
I am
So that they don't get personal,
Right,
like
right.
happened.
Yep.
And we make it clear to people that want to come in here and talk, what our expectations.
Right.
I love that. I would love it on the wall, so that everybody
That's what
can see
I'm
it.
working to do.
It's in process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in Robert's Rules of Orders, because I've been studying this since the last meeting, there's a section that says that the parliamentarian states the expectation before the public comment period.
Hey, we're doing
We're
that.
doing that tonight.
Yeah.
Andrea's making some changes here.
So
Thank you.
see, some things can happen.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. So any other questions? Concerns or comments?
Yeah, wait,
Oh, okay.
in section 4,
Mhm.
it's about standing committees. I'm not sure what got in there. It's not marked or anything.
Oh, yeah, because I have the highlighting in there.
Yeah, but what is a standing committee? And my understanding was that it was Carl that was picking them, not the mayor pro tem, but can you explain about that? What's a standing committee?
So currently, we only have 2 standing committees. We have the economic development and we have
Finance.
finance. We
Doesn't
used
the
to have a
council-
whole slew of them.
Those
Oh,
are
okay.
council only committees?
Yeah, yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Okay, and Anne is picking those.
Yeah, and.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then the other ones that are outside, so like the mosquito district and the health department and all those, mayor chooses those.
Yeah, okay, I get it now. I didn't know what it was. And
Okay.
advisory committees are
The advisory committees are the housing advisory committee,
I
the parking advisory committee. I wouldn't even, I don't know,
Downtown
would the
steering.
DRB and the PCE be considered advisory?
No,
No,
they're,
They're
but,
different,
they're both by code.
but
Oh.
downtown steering committee would be.
oh, down.
Okay, I'll mention one other thing. So I talked to someone else about this, and we don't maybe have to think about it, but it's a woman who was going to meetings in another state, and there was a group of people that wanted to see an outcome. And so they were saying things like, I'll give so-and-so my 3 minutes, so that a person
Oh,
can
yeah.
continue to talk and talk.
We
I just
could
wanna bring that
definitely
up.
Put that in there, that's not.
They do that in the legislature.
Yeah.
However, I have seen a resident come and read a letter from another resident. And they also got their own 3 minutes too. And
okay.
that was the mayor to decide. But they read that letter word for the person that wasn't able to attend.
Yeah, that's different to
And
me.
didn't
Yeah, yeah.
interject, their own personal thoughts to what was on the letter.
All right, so I have some directions, so I will bring these back and hopefully they'll be perfect and continue on.
I don't know if were you fielding all the questions for this section?
Yeah,
Okay, I have one that
okay,
I really, really care about.
okay.
And that, not that I don't care about all the others. This one is just, I would like, when anybody is speaking from the audience, that they include their address. So I know where they're coming from, what.
That isn't required by state law, it's only during a public hearing that that's required by state law,
I would like it during any time they needed to talk, name and address.
okay? And we'll have them come up here.
And I'll tell you my counter to that is that I don't think it should matter if people have a comment to make to us, what their address is. If it's that only time, I mean, you get comments in public hearing and that's required. You give us an address. Otherwise, if they just want to make a comment, I don't think it should matter where their address is. That they just want but I'm saying that I don't think it should.
We can put it in there and you guys can decide how you want to play that.
I like Sharon's recommendation because I think it really provides some good context for where the comment is coming from. If it's a very specific city limits topic and they don't live in the city limits, I think that it's fair for us to know that that's the case.
Well said. Thank you.
Travis, you have your hand up, and then I had a comment too.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I think last night, there was somebody from the county that was sitting at one of the tables that isn't a resident of Leavenworth giving their input on the future of Leavenworth. That seemed odd to me.
Different though, because that includes the urban growth area as well, so which is part of the county, but it's also part of the city, so. That's
Yeah.
all, but.
I think this particular person worked for the county. It just seemed odd. So to the point of the addresses, it's nice to kind of know whether you live in the Montana or not. It's good to kind of us to gauge of where these ideas are coming from that they're presenting to us. It's nice. Yeah.
Can we require people who email us to get their address too then?
I don't really have any say on how people email you. You could request to them, email them back and say, hey, where do you live? Where are you coming from on this? So, but I can't control email, unfortunately.
Right.
Didn't the city used to have a policy where people had to sign in something if they spoke?
Yeah, and I was just running around chasing after people, here, sign this, sign
Oh,
this. So,
okay.
because we record it now,
Oh,
so I don't necessarily.
oh, great, okay.
Can I just make a quick comment on my thoughts on people commenting and strong thoughts and strong emotions? And again, this is just my opinion and maybe a little devil's advocate, so take it for what it's worth, but I'm not an advocate for us willingly taking abuse, and I'm also not an advocate for us absorbing vicious speech. But I also think that we also need to recognize that we deliberate and we make decisions on sometimes really explosive issues that people feel passionately about, people feel personally about, they are allowed to have strong opinions and they are allowed to let us know about those strong opinions. We are public figures, whether we like it or not. We're up here and the standards for defamation and the standards for slander are way different for public figures. Again, I'm not saying that we have to take abuse, but I am also saying that we shouldn't mistake passionate views articulated inelegantly for hate speech. We have to give people their say, and sometimes it's not pretty.
Right.
And we can't shut that down just because it hurts our feelings. We have to be big enough to realize who we are and what drives us and let them have their say and let them be heard and know what our motivation is. So again, I'm not advocating for us taking abuse, and I don't want that. But at the same time, we can't, I don't want this to be in service of shutting down dialogue that offends our sensibilities because they didn't say it in just the right way.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. I think in Robert's Rules of Order, for instance, it's pretty much all covered. And one of the comments there is that it can't be a personally directed insult towards someone, personal. So they can still say in general whatever they want to say. It's when they start to say, and you, da, 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 that it becomes a different category.
And in their expectations, that's one of them, they address the whole council and not.
You want me to read it so you can get a pre-taste of what it's gonna say?
Carl, can I elaborate on what Rona said though? And I think this speaks to my thought on passionate things said inelegantly. When someone says, you're an idiot if you pass this, I translate that as, I don't agree with your thought process. Said very passionately. I don't take it personally because I'm voting on their setback or something like that. They're not thinking about my feelings. So, and I think there's been a ton of research done on when people are feeling de-escalating situations, people want to feel heard. So if someone says something like that, again, inelegantly, and what they hear back is, you go sit down and think about what you've done. I don't think that helps the situation at all.
When I said personal to respond to that, Clint, what I mean is they're singling out a single council member. You know, how they're supposed to speak in Robert's Rules of Order is to make their comments, whatever their opinion is, to everyone.
Sure.
So if someone said up there, you da da da, I wouldn't take that personally. I get they're talking to all of us, right?
Right.
So there is a distinction there that's made in Robert's Rules of Order.
Right, but it's not directed and it's not to be directed at an individual.
Right.
You and I can geek out over Robert's. Nobody else cares about it.
I didn't know that about you.
Oh, well, I am the parliamentarian. Well, the mayor is, but.
No.
He actually is. He's the head of the meeting. I'm just the one that keeps that.
We do a modified Roberts anyway. We don't follow it to the T.
Again, that's what the rules are. I mean, this allows us to veer from Robert's Rules of Order. So, you know, because the thing is Robert's rules are a great foundation, but they don't work for every situation. And those are geared more towards like meetings, like homeowners association meetings, school district meeting, you know, things like that. These situations are different. So, you know, that's kind of where we make the rules for ourselves that work for what we're doing.
So where did the address issue go?
I will put it in there.
Thank you.
You guys can decide if you want to keep it or not.
Do you feel like you have good direction from us?
I have a great direction.
Just one, right? Not a whole bunch.
What was that?
And you're all gonna revisit it again in January? Because
That's when you
procedure.
have the new rules.
Yeah, well, I'll bring this back much before, but yeah, so.
Well, no, I meant it'll come back
Yeah,
again.
again in January, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
So noise ordinance.
Right, I will briefly touch on this, please, sorry. No, it was good conversation. So the intent of this tonight is not to hash out our existing codes. It's really to get a direction from you all as to how to organize our codes better. So we can achieve better compliance and enforce our codes better. This is kind of an extension of sorry, I'm not standing up, my leg is coming where I am. This is in response to a lot of construction noise complaints, and Zeke, I think you brought this up previously about construction noise on holidays.
Right.
And we had legal come in and have that discussion, and so this is kind of branching off that and discussions I've had with legal since then.
Okay.
And basically, we have a couple issues going on. One, if we want to address holidays, their idea was running with what the city of Stanwood did, which is maybe not saying no work on any holidays. We can't single out specific holidays, but maybe reducing those hours.
Right.
Like, so maybe not as early and maybe not as late on a holiday. So if you look in their code, that did have to go through Department of Ecology for approval because it's outside of standards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Ecology.
Yeah, that's in my notes from the city attorney. Obviously it went through, Stanwoods went through a whole, legal review last year and was adopted, so, anyway, they looked at changing those hours. My other concern was just with construction noise, the process that we use currently, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We need to be able to enforce it where if there's an issue, we are addressing it at that moment with a civil penalty instead of sending a letter, sending another letter. And then just get used to it. When it comes to construction noise, we need to nip it right when it happens. And so, in conversation with the city attorney, since we got we have 3 different areas of our LMC that talk about noise. And 2 of them are in the criminal code, which is not an appropriate location. And then the other is in Title 8. So the idea is just what I wanted to get from you all is legal would like us to move all of our noise codes into the nuisance chapter in Title 8, which is a more appropriate location. And then we can have further discussions about if we want to talk about construction noise and limiting the hours on holidays, but it would be all holidays, not specific holidays. So that is, I put the city of Stanwood's code in here as a reference just because it's been vetted through legal and it's just a clean consolidation. I'm not saying we take theirs word for word, it's just the way it's structured is what.
How does moving it into another section help the enforcement?
It's because when it's under that Title IX,
It was
the
under
criminal code, which
criminal
should
code,
be to
right?
call the sheriff and they do something. And then, but then it ties back to Title 12, which is our code violation process, which is you give them a warning, you send them a notice of violation. You send them
That was just too cumbersome and.
well, and it doesn't solve the problem. If it's a construction noise issue and it's happening outside of hours, there's no city staff
Right.
available to
Big
do
deal.
anything
Outside
because it's
city
outside of
hours.
hours. They can send us a video and we can say, yeah, and then they can resolve it and they stop. But then 2 weeks later, they do it again. So if it goes to be if it becomes a civil penalty, it's a quick, hey, you get issued your penalty fee. If you do it again within X number of weeks, it goes up. And so it just kind of nips it. We found that like the monetary penalties get people's attention more than a letter in these kind of cases. Obviously, for other kind of code enforcement issues, it makes sense that you need to follow due process. You need to give people time to comply. This is something that's just don't do it. It's in our code. Don't start your construction before 7 a.m. And so if we have a way of just stopping it as soon as it happens, I mean, yeah, maybe they get a warning, but having specific penalty in place is important. And it's just not working the way it is currently drafted.
Maggie, I was gonna ask you, that was my question on enforcement and penalties, with Stanwood's example.
Mhm.
So they have times like as a second violation of this chapter occurs within 30 days. So we're not suggesting waiting. I mean, are we gonna up it? Like I would think. First off, when they sign that contract, that they know that if they violate that. There's, I would think it should be automatic. Maybe you can have a warning, but if it happens. I wouldn't have, I think it needs to happen really quick if the second one happens. That's all.
And so, I mean, that's where looking into the code and fine tuning it the way you want it. Like, this is just an example of, as far as a big picture.
Okay.
Of how it would all be merged into one code
Okay.
instead of three different places. It's hard for people to find. It's hard for staff to enforce.
Right.
It's. Or know who's enforcing it. Is it the sheriff? Is it city staff? It just needs to be cleaned up, to be more clear.
Right.
If
No,
I
I
can't-
totally move it where it needs to be. so
If
it's
I don't know what
effective.
to do with it, it's not clear.
Right.
So that's just, I'm just hoping to get feedback, and this is directed straight from the city attorney, it needs to be cleaned up, and their recommendation is, to repeal those two that are in 9 and move it all together in one chapter. So I'm asking you all to, that is a direction you would like to go, and if I move forward with them, and then obviously this will go through a public process.
Okay, we definitely should do that, and I like, and this other part is kind of a work in progress about how too much time is given between warnings. Where you have to get that determined, right?
Oh, I
And-
think you, sorry, if you don't mind, I was just reviewing this. If you have multiple violations within 30 days,
They go up.
infraction goes up. So it's not like we're gonna wait 30 days to see if they have another infraction.
Okay, I just think I wasn't sure from what the way it was phrased, what they meant. So
Yeah,
I'd like to be really
So
clear.
if you reoffend within 30 days, it's a greater infraction and a higher penalty.
Okay.
Tagging on to Zeke's original comment about this. Does this have anything to do with holidays and, times of construction too? Is that part of this?
That's part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was my second question is, would you like to look at reducing the hours? A lot, we talked originally about specific holidays. We can't
Right.
Do that.
Right,
And a lot of people do work on Labor Day or on 4th of July.
Yeah.
And so like, this would be, no, if we said no construction on any holidays, that's limiting a lot of, somebody at the 3-day weekend, they want to work on their deck. And so the topic of maybe reducing the hours on holidays.
so are they kind of talking about like, on holidays, you don't work before 9 o'clock
Yeah,
and don't,
Yeah.
okay,
until
Six,
Six.
at 6.
Right.
instead of the 7 to 7, you
Right.
shrink it.
Okay.
So that would be an option if you want to look at that. And like I said, Stanwood was just an example. It's what we by no means have to copy it. It was just to show you how it can be formatted, what they did to reduce the hours, and that was approved. And so we know, like, from a legal standpoint, then we could do something similar with our construction noise standards.
I don't know if he still wants to have the session. Oh,
Travis, did you have a question?
Nope. I think it's, yeah, you guys got it covered. Good stuff.
Everybody in agreement, she'll come back with something along that.
sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Maggie.
Selby, you have anything more?
Me?
Yeah. You were gonna talk about a tree.
You're right. Thank you. I thought Andrea was gonna do that.
Oh.
Agree.
So, I've been talking, Andrea and I have been talking, the mayor and I've been talking, we'd like to offer the council, the opportunity to have another retreat this fall, if you guys are amenable. The way I would like to structure it, it'd be a day-long retreat. We would have another presentation about council roles and responsibilities. We'd have, a portion of the morning where we would have our ethics officer come and give a presentation about ethics and our ethics code. And then we would use the afternoon for team building for the council, using Hannah Butler from Nash Consulting. So if you guys are amenable to that, idea, then if you could let us know, I think Andrew could do a doodle poll. I don't know if you guys want to give up a Saturday or if you want to give up a work day. But either or works for staff. We'll meet, whenever your schedules allow. Aside from the first week of November, when I'm gonna be in Vegas getting married by Elvis.
Oh, and I won't
November 3rd.
Married by Elvis.
You just have to bring back pictures, Sylvie.
Oh, they'll be live streamed.
Oh.
Send out the link.
So when are you thinking maybe we would be doing it?
It's pretty busy in September, October. So we're thinking towards the end, well, October with Oktoberfest is kind of a busy time as well. So sometime between Oktoberfest and Thanksgiving would be the best.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Shoulder season.
Yeah, the brief shoulder seat.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. I also wanted to bring up that I would recommend, I think this is the place to do it. That we have and I know this is packed, and I've just kind of shared this with a few other council members. I think the issue of inclusionary zoning is a very big issue to kind of have planning commission come up all by themselves and hand it to us as a finished product. So when they were discussing it on Wednesday, when I was at the session, I asked them if what they thought if we would do a joint session on that. Because and they were very much in favor of that because they're really where to go with this thing and to do it right first time around, so it doesn't go back and forth. So I know that there's council members who work full time and things are already doing the engagement things, the visioning things, but I think this would be a good session to have a joint thing with the planning commission. So.
I would agree. I would like to see that, maybe at a retreat.
Okay, just
At the retreat or a separate meeting?
might be
Probably a separate thing.
I think
it's a
We're not waiting
separate-
so long.
yeah. So,
And that could be something we could do on an evening.
right, could be an evening thing.
So would you guys have a preference of a Saturday or a Friday or a Monday or
For a retreat?
for a retreat?
November.
I prefer a weekend day.
I don't think it matters for me.
We have Saturday, so we don't have to burn another work vacation
That's
day.
Do I wonder?
The first 2 weeks and the first 2 weekends in November are going to be problematic for me.
Me too.
Everybody, check your calendar. How does November 16th work for people?
I will be unavailable. Unfortunately, I should have said the second and third weekends in November.
So,
November 2nd.
When is Thanksgiving?
Possible.
How
I
about,
think Sylvie's getting married.
Oh, wait,
Is November 2nd when you're gone, Sylvie?
I'm gonna be gone the week of the 3rd.
Yeah.
How about the 23rd, which is Thanksgiving's a little late this year.
23rd of November.
It's a Saturday.
That's a Saturday,
Yeah.
23rd?
It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
it's open?
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm good.
That should work.
Right.
You do that if it works for you.
And to save some cost, let's just do it here in council chambers, if that's okay with folks, rather than getting a hotel.
Yeah.
Function room.
Yeah.
It's before school
Okay.
season, so that's nice.
Let's take a brief break,
I don't know.
Okay, great.
I mean, on November.
potty break.
Can always dream, right?
Yeah.
I will call the meeting of the Leavenworth City Council for September 10th to order. Will you stand for the pledge of allegiance? And you want to get started?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Travis, did you say?
Sharon Waters.
Clint Strand.
Ann Hesberg.
Zeke Reister,
Shane there?
Rhonda Barron.
Travis McMaster.
All right, all are present. On the consent agenda, we are going to ask to pull item 16 from the agenda. That's a consultant agreement and we'll bring it up next time. not ready. But I would entertain a motion.
I still have some questions.
Oh, okay. What do you have? Let me guess, therefore, Chantel.
Yeah, maybe not me.
Oh. No, we.
Excuse me, on tab 4, on page 1. On-call professional photography.
Alpine Creative, Selby?
Sure. So as our new communications special project manager, Kara, has found, we don't have a lot of images to use for the social media posting that she's been doing. So she contracted with Alpine Creative for them to take photographs. So they were at, she's got two. She's got ISIL TV, which is also the Chambers. And then she got Alpine Creative in addition to take other images. So I'm not sure if they were at the block party or if it was ISIL TV that was at the block party, but they have functions like that. Take pictures of downtown, different stock photo that she can utilize for various social media posts.
Sounds good. I saw a lady there walking all
That's
over.
right.
Yeah, that was a woman from
Okay.
TV last night.
All righty, thank you. Page 4. No, yes. Let me see, what am I looking at here? Bear spray. Are we spraying bears or?
This is actually for our first department, we had a bear incident and it came to our attention that they didn't have bear spray on their gators with them. So this is just the purchase, like bear deterrent spray,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, just wondered why we're using it.
They're hanging around with it.
You know that. On page 6. Hats, facilities hats.
Yeah, annually, we purchase hats and shirts for our team to wear, and so that was just the annual purchase.
So like a hard hat?
Like a baseball
Baseball
hat
cap.
Okay,
that says City of Leavenworth for them to wear.
okay. And on page 8. Steve Runyon's pool employee drug test. It was on 2 different pages. And so I wondered, did we pay for it twice or what was going on there?
So you've moved into the 828, not the 911 check run, correct?
Yeah, there's an 828 and then the other one.
So C Runyon started later in the season, and so this was just a residual one, the last one. That when he went to Confluence Health and had his drug test. Typically takes him about a month to send us the bill.
Okay, but there were 2 different prices, weren't there? One was, where am I?
On this check run?
Well, there's a Confluence Health $25 pool employee drug test.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And that's C Runyon.
yes, and then the other one. I didn't make a very good map for myself. Then there was another one that shows up. Maybe I'll show up in one of the tabs as we continue.
Okay.
Okay,
Or if you want to email me
I can do that.
tomorrow.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Also on, no, that would be a plan for you. I'm okay there.
Sure, the other thing that the other one could have been is one of our random drug tests for CDL drivers. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking at, but that could have been one of the other ones we were looking at.
I almost think the other one said full employee too.
Yeah.
I'll just wait if it shows up, yeah. Okay, on page 10. For Gray and Osborne, Leavenworth, what are Leavenworth Meadows? I probably know, but I'm
The
not.
apartment complex that we had a tour of.
That one, okay.
So that was actually a pass-through. So we will pay Gray and Osborne and then we will bill Leavenworth Meadows to reimburse us.
Okay, was that the same thing for the one right underneath it, residential stormwater driveway plan?
No, that was not a pass-through. That was the city initiating Gray and Osborne to assist us in questions that we had on that development.
Okay,
Actually, this particular one, this was to create a standardized driveway stormwater plan that we could furnish to residents who are building new driveways that they could utilize.
okay. And then right below it, the scrub seal project. 6,000, whatever, Gray and Osborne.
Yeah, that's the city scrub seal project that's taking place right now, and they're our engineer for that project, so this is some of their construction management fee for
Okay,
that project.
and are they gonna let Cause like somebody put up no parking or no driveway signs in front of my house and another, but it wasn't for that, cause I talked to that guy just to see what it was. I don't wanna be stuck with my car in the garage and I can't get out to go somewhere.
Oh,
So with the scrub seal, are they gonna be coming to us and letting us know when they're starting? So,
They're supposed to be, there should be door hangers, and then if there's no parking signs up, that'll be your other indication. We do have two projects going on right now. So I'm not sure if the contractors in the area, there's two overlapping projects, which is a little bit confusing. So lots of contractors in the residential area right now as well.
okay. And on page 13. Someone sold back a cemetery lot.
Correct.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that-
something that does happen.
Is that the one by the shed or?
That I can't answer, I'm sorry. I don't
Okay.
know. And I don't know, I'm just looking on here, I know that we recently had a niche that was sold back, I'm not sure if that's what this is off the top of my head.
Okay,
I do know the Nagel one was sold to them a very long time ago.
the one that is sold back.
Yeah, because the
Okay.
refund amount, we went back as far as we could on rate and fees. Couldn't even find that one, so it was a long time ago.
Okay. And let's see. On page, I think there's only this one more to go. On page 21. The USD grant for the plain pantry bags and USDA grant blue elk in bags.
Yes.
Bags are those.
Yeah, so that's Witten Manufacturing, and they are utilizing the USDA food waste grant. So they provide those bags to
Oh,
those
that goes in
customers,
the, okay,
and then we pay them for it, and then I turn around and I submit a reimbursement to the grant program for us to get paid back.
okay,
See the brown bag in that green bin right there next to the machine?
yes,
Yeah, that's what.
that's it. Okay, thank you.
Sharon, I found, it was on page 14 of the other drug test was for Procom LLC on page 14. So there's one for.
Two different ones.
Yeah, two different
Yeah.
ones.
Maybe talk with Kelly
Okay,
about the two different ones and
Same
what the
person though.
difference was.
Yeah, same.
yeah,
person,
same, I've never seen two drug tests.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, that's interesting. Good
Thank
eye,
you.
Sharon.
All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with calling item 16.
Second.
Moved by Shane, seconded by Ann. All those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. And before we get to comments from the public, I am going to read our new expectations for all of our residents and speakers that are here. That we are reminded that in this place, we are going to be respectful with each other, acknowledge that it is okay to be in disagreement, but that before we do make any comments, you would be recognized by the chair, in this case, the mayor or the mayor pro tem. And that you would address the council and not individuals. Keep your comments focused on the topic that's being discussed. And along with that, this comes up because the last meeting that we had an incident that got out of hand, and I'll take ownership, and I apologize to Rona, who was the brunt of that. But quite frankly, I was more shell-shocked and didn't respond as quickly as I should have to nip that in the bud. But I will make every attempt to do better moving forward, to make sure that these rules are read and that we're respectful and that we do keep things addressed to the topics. So we'll go forward from here. And with that, I would then open up for comments from the public on items that aren't on the agenda.
Mayor, I'd
Yeah.
like to address the council.
Sure.
It's Gary Day, and I live at 230 Pine Street. Council, that's what I want to talk about, is Pine Street. I lived there over 5 years now, And the traffic speed on Pine Street has gotten worse and worse. And I'm really concerned about it because I am retired and I live there and I see what goes on all day. And a lot of you probably don't ever get up on Pine Street. There's a lot of people who just don't know that this has been taking place. So about a year ago, I talked with Washburn. Anyway, I talked with Tom about the same problem, about the speeding on it. And we worked together really good on that. And he said, well, I'll get the portable, radar, indicator that we can set up out there and we'll see what's going on. And he brought that out, and unfortunately, we could only set it on the south side of Pine, which only will monitor the speed from Ski Hill east. And we can't put it on the other side because there's no place to put it. Can't put it in the ditch, so that was out. But anyway, it gave us a good indication of what's going on. And what we found out is we put that on there. And the first 2 weeks, it really helped. You could see the difference when people come along there and they tripped it and the flashing yellow come on, you know, they would either, you could hear them let off on their gas or the brake lights would come on. And so we thought, wow, that's a good idea. It seems to be working. Well, unfortunately, it only lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was completely ignored because the people, I think, are so used to driving that at a certain speed, I really doubt if they really know how fast they're going. I mean, it's questionable because they just came back and they just did the same thing and didn't pay any attention to it. So anyway, he had it there for a little less than a month and took it away and put it somewhere else so they could use it. And that was all that was done. And we talked about what else could we do there? And he suggested, well, maybe we could get a permanent one there like they have there in the Shasta. You know, that way you could have it on both sides because the east to the west traffic is the worst. Because what they do, the problem isn't in the school with the flashing lights and all the signs. That's not where the problem is. The problem is when they pass Central and it says end of school zone. That's where it starts. And we see them going 40, 45, even 50 or more times, you know, and you can tell how fast they're going. It's not a difficult thing. I think Mike would be able to tell just by watching cars go by pretty much how fast you're traveling, you know. Anyway, this has just continued and continued and, you know, nothing's really happened. And I discussed with him, I said, well, you know, the biggest problem you have there is you have a quarter-mile from Central to Ski Hill straight away. There's not a stop sign, there's nothing in the way. And that's the biggest problem. And that has to be, something has to be done with that, I think. That's the only answer. It'd be nice to have some sheriff officers write some tickets there. That would be great. I know that's not their job. It's not their job. So.
Sure it is.
Sure it is. Only.
It is. That's part of,
I've never seen anybody parked along there or anybody writing anything or doing anything. I've never seen it in the police log. They wrote a ticket in a residential area. You know, it just doesn't happen. Be honest, you know. They're on call. You're on call. We call you when we need you. We can't call you and say, you're gonna go chase this car down. It just went by 60 miles an hour. You can't do that. So I think that's not the answer, you know. And I brought this up with Tom and we said, what about a stop sign? just so you could break up that quarter-mile stretch. And Tom's answer was, well, it's not really general practice to use stop signs to control speed.
No.
And I said, Tom, you got two problems. You got speed, you got a safety problem. Right there on Orchard is a big crossing for all the school kids. You got two schools on that street. It's become a secondary highway. We see it, boats, RVs, trailers, we see it all going that way. And what's our future? Well, phase 2 of Pine Street. Phase 2 is gonna put a roundabout. Where's that traffic gonna go? It's gonna get down Pine. That's the whole purpose of it. And then you're gonna put in a road from the 358 apartments into Titus from Jumpstick. Where does that go? It's gonna get down Pine Street. You see what I'm saying? The problem is gonna get worse and worse. And I'm not even including the McDivitt construction behind us with all the houses and cars. They're all cars. I think what you're doing is you're moving this problem from one area to another. I don't know the answer to it, but that's what's happening. The next problem you're gonna be is down at Ski Hill and Highway 2. That'll be your next problem. So,
Right.
I'm hoping that you council, when we get a new public works director, I hope the council will pressure him. Let's come up with something that we can do. And I really think the stop sign would be very easy to have it right there at Orchard. You've got a 3-way stop. It takes a little bit of paint on the highway and 2 stop signs. And that would stop this flow of traffic. Because the people, I think, don't realize how fast they're going. And the other thing we see, I want to bring this up because this is really what upsets me too, is we see kids come up with their bicycles. They leave school, or even when it's not in school, they ride up the bicycle path, pedestrian walkway, and they like to cut out through the driveway approach. And when they do that, they're right in the line of traffic. There's no way that the car, if that car is going 45 miles an hour, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have an accident. Either a bicycle's gonna hit the car or the car's gonna hit the bicycles. So,
Okay, I appreciate your
all right, I
comments
won't
here.
take any more time, but it's in your hands. It's your hands. Let's get a fix for it.
Thank you,
Thank-
Gary.
Thank you.
Gary.
Anybody else?
I am BJ Robinson, 126 Commercial Street. And I just wanted to thank Maggie and thank Councilman Carl. Yesterday I saw something I saw that I have in my 7 years being involved in Leavenworth and being a resident of Leavenworth, I haven't seen. And we know why, and we ran into COVID, and we've seen a lot of things on our social media and stuff like that. It's first time I've seen that the members of the community and the community actually talk face to face. You have an amazing idea there. And I think it's more than just the idea of a comprehensive plan time. There's a lot of education that needs to come with that. But I think what you're doing is putting a process in that now we sit together and have to have that discussion and move to another table, have discussion. Because no other city is doing that. Solving the issue of the things we were talking about earlier today, is how do we have these discussions in public forums? Because we couldn't for a while. And so we know what that creates. We know the safety issues, we know what that creates, but the one thing that we talked about yesterday, at multiple tables, and I heard it as I was walking through, and I do more observation, is there wasn't consensus, but there was empathy building among members, and you had 125, 150 people there. And it was the first event that we had that we were taught. And so we need to be able to have those conversations and repeatedly. And I think the idea, the time frame, because I can tell you right now, you'll probably see 100 people come, maybe 125. If it's done the right way, they will want to come to that and know, hey, every trimester we have this opportunity. So I have lots of communication. Amazing. But that's more, how do we start getting that information? And now we don't just talk about it in our own neighborhoods, on our own forums and stuff like that. We actually now take that and now have a discussion as a community. It's not just the free speech part and the take your stand for yourself 3 minutes or whatever it is. And hey, this is what it is. And here's my clip and everything like that. It's making us participate. And if you don't participate, you're seeing that you're outside the process. So you could use a product, you could use the social media, and you could use a state, but that's not where things are getting done. So it was great seeing everyone there yesterday. Thank you, Maggie. I think that was an incredible thing to see done for us talking about community. I think that's where the conversation is continuing, actually, is the discussion about who we are. Because we were having a lot of discussions about that. And then we're talking about what workers are talking about minimum wage. Any child that goes to one of our public schools, one of our schools, is a community member. And that's okay, like whatever the borders are, we need to have that, we need to actually have that conversation. And I think that's the perfect one to do. So just by, I don't hold you on this, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
BJ.
Any other comments? All right.
Karen's.
Karen.
Oh, sorry. You jumped fast enough.
I'm Karen Hare, 1380 Commercial Street. To start, I wanted to say thank you, Mayor, council people, and staff. I appreciate your time and your energy and effort in trying to improve our town. You're appreciated. But over the past few years, it seems to me that the town meetings are becoming less polite, less respectful. And at the last council meeting on August 13th, I was appalled at the lack of civil behavior. And it made me so intimidated that I chose not to speak. I think that ground rules at a public meeting, the values and behaviors that everyone usually adheres to include not interrupting, not arguing with the person who's speaking. Only one person speaks at a time. No eye rolling or laughing. And no personal attacks. The elected officials, I think, should lead by example. Listen respectfully, don't interrupt. And this is really important. If someone who is shouting, arguing, or verbally attacking someone, especially a council member, they need to stop. Point of order is the correct thing to say. So I'm asking, does the city of Leavenworth have rules that are followed at meetings like this? If they do, I would ask that the rules be followed. And if they don't have these rules, it might be a good idea to get some.
We've talked about that and we're putting them and we'll have them actually put up so that they're visible in this room so that people will understand that. So yeah, moving forward, we plan to do much better than that incident, so.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Anybody else? All right, we will move on. We've got some proclamations and some presentations and first we've got a proclamation here that I'm actually going to read, a proclamation designating Digital Equity Day. Whereas access to digital resources and technology is essential for education, employment, and healthcare in our modern society. And whereas promoting digital equity ensures that all individuals, regardless of background or socioeconomic status, have access to the tools and skills necessary to thrive in the digital age. And whereas the North Central Washington Digital Access and Equity Coalition, in collaboration with North Central Washington Tech Alliance, is dedicated to bridging the digital divide in North Central Washington through advocacy, education, and community engagement. And whereas the city of Leavenworth recognizes the importance of fostering an inclusive and accessible digital environment for all residents, now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and city council of the city of Leavenworth, Washington, September 10th, 2024 as Digital Equity Day. The city of Leavenworth calls upon its residents, businesses, educational institutions, and community organizations to join in efforts to promote digital equity and ensure that everyone in our community can fully participate in the benefits from the digital world. Signed this 10th day of September 2024, and we've got somebody here to receive this proclamation. No. Give you this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And we're
much.
gonna get a picture here.
Oh, yeah. There you go, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
You can if
make
you
a
want.
comment if you wish.
I will if I can.
You can.
I'll keep it super brief, but I'm Sue Payne. I'm the CEO for NCW Tech Alliance. And we've had, NCW Tech is a regional nonprofit. And we've had the honor of supporting the North Central Washington Digital Access and Equity Coalition with this campaign this summer. So Leavenworth, I came in person to thank the mayor and the council for your attention to digital equity. We live in a region that is really well connected. We've got access to incredible fiber. And that's unfortunately just the ground floor. That's the foundation. So the work that we're engaging in now is really focused on making sure that people have the devices and the skills to be able to benefit. And we're doing outreach and programs and watch for and support and collaborate in programs that help our seniors, help individuals who have language access barriers, have individuals with disabilities to be able to really get access to information, healthcare, education, and all kinds of things that come through technology access. So your attention to this matter is so important, and we're so grateful for your partnership. Thank you for taking time for this today.
Glad you could be here, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, thank you.
Another presentation, our Mr. Gary Day has stepped down from being 3 years, was it, on the design review board? And so we've got a little plaque to honor that time commitment. And also, I think Maggie would like to say something.
I would just very quickly, Gary came, joined the board 3 years ago when we were in real need of a member, local members, and he stepped up and has been just such a joy to work with. His passion and for the Bavarian theme and for keeping it authentic in our downtown is just awesome. He was known to walk down and really get an eye on things before making decisions. He was a voice of reason. He was
Sometimes that's a pain.
He was always respectful of everyone's views, even when he disagreed, and would bring up very thoughtful comments, and he's going to be very, very missed. But we are still so excited for him to get to enjoy traveling and one time at home with family. So, yeah, I can't believe you're gonna do that.
Well, thank you, Maggie, and Mr. Mayor, that's, I know we have a lot of differences.
Sure.
Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to serve.
Yeah, and we're glad that you're able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your dedication, Gary. Good stuff.
And now we have a presentation from our sheriff.
No.
Oh, no?
State auditor next.
Oh. Sorry, Sheriff. Money people come ahead of policing.
Okay, I got to enjoy one of the presentations here a couple days ago.
Oh, did you?
Good, yeah, you did a good job.
They'll be quick. They'll be quick.
I will thank you all for allowing us to meet with you today. City council meetings obviously are the way you go about directing the business of the city. So it's no small thing if you allow some people stating to come and present the results and do like the week before the city of London. So my name is James Santa Stephen. I'm the team manager for the Wenatchee branch of the state auditor's office. Josiah Milner is with me today. He's an assistant manager with our team, which means normally he supervises audits, doesn't necessarily perform them himself. But this time around, he did lead the city's audit. We'll be presenting the results of the audits that we've been doing. So, we are presenting the results for our financial statements and our federal grant audits that we performed for 2023. I took a little bit of time earlier today to look back through the history of federal grant audits that we performed for the city of London. There have not been many. In recent years, that's been historical. Because of all the USDA that's come in. But as far back as our electronic records go, which was about 2000, roughly 2001. Other than these recent audits that we've been performing over USDA funding, there were only two federal grant audits that we. One in 2015, which focused on use of Department of Transportation and Highway and Construction funds, and then also all the way back in 2004. We performed a federal grant compliance audit over these. I don't know what the project was used for because the titles of the project aren't generally for it, but it does say the source of the funding. So we're happy to report today what we found during this audit. The federal grant audits have been an increasing focus in recent years, due in no small part to the influx of pandemic related funds that all governments have received, whether cities, counties, school districts, PUDs, transit agencies. They've all received pandemic related money from different sources. And sometimes that has meant more auditing at agencies that we've already audited, such as the sometimes it's meant that we're performing federal grant audits for government agencies that we don't use on government. For 1 year or one project, it's always an opportunity for us to look at compliance and see if there's areas that maybe need to be improved a little bit, or whether there are areas that under professional auditing standards we have to include in our report. I have to say that we'll go through the details, just I will take you through them, but we do not have any formal audit findings that we'll do tonight, which is also consistent with all the study data for the state as far as our records. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Josiah take over, and then obviously we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Dave mentioned, I'll be walking through the results of the awesome study, and I'm going to do that by walking through copies of the draft audit report. There includes these reports are considered draft because they haven't been published yet. But these are the reports that we will be publishing will be available.
It's, I'm sharing it for the people on Zoom, so if you want the clicker, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No problem. We're actually gonna come back to the first page.
Josiah, could you speak a little louder?
Yes, sorry.
Thanks.
A little soft spoken. All right, so I'll walk through the results by walking through copies of the draft audit reports, which begin on page 5. As Jake mentioned, there's the financial statement audit and also federal compliance audit. And the report itself is separated into 4 sections. There's a cover sheet and cover letter, but the first section of the report begins on page 8. The first section is called the schedule of findings and question costs. Don't let that title alarm you. It's the title of that schedule regardless of if there are findings. In this case, as Jay mentioned, we have no audit findings that will be communicating. To give some background, findings would be issues that are significant enough that they require formal attention in the audit itself. We are reporting findings for this audit. What's also in the schedule is what's called section 1, summary of the auditor's results. This page is going to summarize much higher level the results of the report that follows what we follow. So the results of both financial statement and federal compliance audit. Both key audits have two objectives. The first and most important objective is called the opinion. In the case of the financial statement audit, it's our opinion on financial statements, which based on the work we performed, would be us communicating to the public whether or not we found the statements to be. For the federal compliance audit, it is our opinion on whether or not we found the city complied with requirements of federal program audit. The first component of the opinion, the second component of both audits is our report on internal controls. We are required for both audits to understand controls processes. For the financial statements, it would be those processes that when we're preparing those statements, making sure they're accurate. And then the processes for complying with federal grants. We don't issue opinions or say whether or not they're good. We're required to understand those processes with evidence, make sure they're heard, and then communicated and found in statement issues. If we did, they would be reported as audit findings. So I'm going to walk through the summary of the results on this page. First, for the financial statement audit, we will be issuing an unmodified opinion. That might not sound great or flattering, but an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion. To explain that terminology briefly, the goal of every audit is to not modify what we call the standard. That's the goal. In this case, that the financial statements are. When we have to modify opinion, that means either we found something, an error, so to speak, that was significant enough that we just didn't feel comfortable saying. So that term, in this case, so for the financial statement audit, we are issuing an unmodified opinion based on the kind of accounting the city uses, also referred to regulatory basis of accounting. We're required for every audit we perform to issue an opinion under the staff or rule accounting. So in this case, and you'll see that in the remainder of the report, we are communicating to the public that these financial statements are not prepared under the GAAP, or also not required to be, and we do that. For the financial statement audit, for internal controls, we have to report we didn't identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And again, those are terms just for major issues or problems that either could or did lead to significant errors. For the federal compliance audit, similarly, we didn't identify any issues with controls required report, and will also be reporting unmodified opinion. In this case, it needs to be found the city complied with the kind of requirements we required to audit that federal agreement. That was the summary. What I'm going to do now is walk through the rest of the report at a bit faster pace. For that, I'll mention this last page in just for a second. You see the term major federal program used a lot in support. What that means is that the program that was under audit. That program is listed here, as was the case in previous years, the water and wastewater disposal system loan and grant from USDA. So the results of the audit are in the perspective of that. We don't want that. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through the rest of the report at a faster pace. I'm going to show you where those same results are within the body of the report itself. The report has much more technical information about background, explanation, context. That's well. On page 11, we have the report of internal controls and compliance. Again, we're giving some background to readers about what our responsibilities are and what are the issues with the report. You'll see first sentence that is highlighted here, again, saying that during our audit, we didn't identify any problems, deficiencies, the required report. Since we perform our audits under the bonding standards, we're also required to perform certain procedures to identify any potential non-compliance the city might be involved with that either did or could lead to consequences or impacts that would matter. In an extreme example, let's say something happened with utility fund in the city, or there was material or if we did identify anything like that, we'd be required to input as well. In this case, similarly, we can identify any non-compliance. If you go to page 13, we have the report to the federal program. This has both the report goals and the opinion on compliance. The opinion is first in the report there on page 13. Again, I've highlighted certain parts of this report just to show you where these are located. The actual published report. The opinion is there highlighted in the middle of the page. Again, saying that we found city compliant in all material respects with the requirements. To page 15. There is one item that is referenced in this report, a recommendation that we have. I'm going to walk through this recommendation after the finishing of this report, but there is a reference here in the middle of page 15 about certain matters we identified. Since this issue didn't meet the criteria of significance for being included as a finding, the actual details of the issues are not important, but a reference. And there's that same reference again below the bottom. The reason why the reference is in two places is it was a recommendation that involved both goals, processes, and then also compliance with requirements. Right. Moving on to page 17, the last part of this report, there are few financial statements. There are some explanatory paragraphs here, again using terms such as regulatory basis for accounting. Under Washington State, the city is not required to report under GAAP for accounting. We have a simplified version that cities that is the system the city uses, also called Ours manual basis of the accounting. We perform our audit on the basis of that accounting opinions. We have found that with that basis of accounting, the statements were at the bottom of the paragraph, there is mention of the adverse opinion on the West GAAP. And then on the page that follows on page 18, with the explanation. This again is just letting readers know Washington State, the city is not required to report the GAAP. Statements are not GAAP. And that's what basically in summary with those paragraphs. It's not much. But as I mentioned earlier, we are required to communicate all of our financial statement reports. The last item on the report I want to bring your attention to is on page 19. There's two other schedules that aren't part of the financial statements themselves, so we do perform procedures on. They're important to the audit and we should. Those are both listed at the bottom of page 19. It's what is called the schedule of expenditures of federal boards. This is where the city reports all the federal grants. Whether or not this schedule is accurate matters a great deal in terms of our federal audits. The other is what's called the schedule of liabilities. Since the city reports on the cash basis, they don't report their liabilities normally on basis of payments. So there's another schedule that we do out of that schedule as well. And for both those schedules, we issue an opinion. That opinion is on the next highlighted sentence on page 20, which similar to the opinion on the statements, we found these schedules to be. A lot of time. Does anyone have any questions on anything I've mentioned that we can clarify?
Very thorough.
Yes.
I'll move right along. The management letter I referenced, or I spoke of earlier, begins on page 22. We do have a recommendation that will be communicated on this audit. It's involving the federal audit. To give a little bit of background before I talk about this, every year the federal government has a process they call P6. That process, they have to decide Because there are so many compliance requirements, they have to actually decide which one we want us to focus on, or which one we want us to focus. Those requirements do change from year to year. We have a recommendation this year regarding procurement. I will say that in previous years, specifically the city's procurement policy. This was a new requirement. But I will say that in previous years, USDA has not identified this as on focus, so this would be the first year, at least as far back as I can remember, that this is. That's why this recommendation is come this time, not. In summary, what we found, the city is required under federal requirements to have written procurement procedures. And it's written into the federal code what exactly has to be. It doesn't need to be a policy or ordinance, it just needs to be something written. In this case, the city has a policy that has those requirements. We found that that policy, although met certain amount of those requirements, didn't include all of them. Specifically, one of the major areas is that the policy needs to guide anybody in procurement action to follow the most restrictive method, either federal, state, or local. In this case, we found one discrepancy for public works projects. Under federal guidance, those have to be formally bid. They exceed 250,000, but under local and state guidance, the threshold is 3. So the city's policy had 350 rather than. There are also other requirements that were missing, such as requirements for contracting small minority businesses, women's business enterprise, youth labor service, area requirements, the other. So those are the items we found that were missing from the city policy, and so we're recommending that updates be made to. So basically it. Anyone have any questions about the recommendation?
So to clarify, we just recently passed an updated bidding and purchasing policy. And so Andy did connect with Josiah as well. And they spoke about what these additional requirements are. So we will be bringing that back to you in a few months at least.
And that's when we passed that, we acknowledged that at the time, that we'd be bringing it back.
Yeah. So we will address this management letter of recommendation through that policy by bringing that back to you for that additional.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks.
It's important to note that although this is an area full of procedures that are designed in order to make sure that management and staff carry out projects appropriately, it's also an element of compliance as well. We examine more than just procurement policies when we do our consideration of procurement in a federal project, and we found out sections of the actual procurement actions that the city undertook during the year.
I'm going to come back to the first page of your document, which you include willing. I want to take a moment and express my thanks and help for helpfulness. I worked with him for a number of years, so it's been helpful, very timely, very quick. And also want to recognize the city. City has strong control in areas, as Jake mentioned. When we decided the street, no findings that we're aware of, no findings obviously in this. So that is the city's goals, process of very nice. And for the bottom of the first page, this would be required communication items. During the financial statement audit, we didn't identify any material statements. On the audited financial statements, which will be follow this report, built public, there are no incorrect statements. Sometimes we find the statements and they're too small or not. Right, in this case, there were none of those. Also, we're required to communicate any area in the financial statement audit requires special attention, special focus. We're required to give special attention and focus in every financial statement audit to an area that's called management of right. The idea there is the ways by which managements will go through our influence can bypass the normal goals if they enable adjustments. Either with the journal entries or other processes, they can kind of. In this case, we didn't identify issues, but focus. to the second page. The report that I walked through, will be published on our website or it should be public on the stuff. There is a management representation letter that, in this packet, this is the list of items that management serves to us in post audit. Yes, vital documents. We requested, we're not aware of any fraud or non-compliance and stuff with audit. Audit costs, I'm happy to report that we're going to be under our estimate, about 4,000 years. This is mostly due to lack of significant issues, timely responses of the issue, overall efficiency of the team. Next scheduled audit will be conducted in the summer of 2025. This will be financial statement audit for this audit. The city also receives what's called monthly. This is actually our base level audit performed for all local governments. This one is performed every year, so it's performed every 2 years, so we will see a bit higher audit costs. So, that is all I have. Does anyone have any questions or clarify anything so far?
I'd like to add for Josiah's efficiency. He is extremely good at his job. I don't know if you guys recall my grumbling last year at the process that took 4 months with off-site, on-site audit work. Josiah was here and done within about 4 weeks. So that's normal. And it's nice to see that they were able to get back to that. And I think a lot of that credit goes to the fact that he has many, many years of experience doing what he does. I appreciate you as well.
That was my one question, was how long did all this take?
Yeah, it's an off-on process, you know, he requests things, I provide them, we have portals where I upload stuff. And then there's a period where him and another assistant will come on site. And you may have noticed boxes sitting in here at some point about a couple weeks ago. Those were all for them. They sit here for several days on end, going through all of our bank accounts, bank records, just looking at every transaction. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Josiah.
you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Wouldn't want your job.
See you next year.
Yeah. Okay, now we can go to Sheriff.
How do you want to do though? I'll try to keep it short. I did tell Corporal Lake that he could take the evening off. He will be here on the 4th, Tuesday of the month to have the meeting. When he invited me, but I said I just want to take the opportunity, as I said I would. I was first coming into office, just meet with you all directly in person. I want to be able to answer questions. And just get an overall feel of how our agency is doing serving you, you as partners. So I did hand you our annual report. This is an effort on behalf of the Sheriff's Office to go back to some that we last did in 2020. And I think it just provides a better window into our agency to show what we've been doing. It shows the trends of how we've been performing each one of our categories back since 2019. And just to show like, hey, this is what the trends look like, how many calls we've handled per division. Just so each agency see how we're doing and how each of our contract cities can also see. So that's why I provided you with this. When I talk about partnership, I did share our agency's challenge points. Those were created by our deputies in-house. That is not something we share with the general public. That is something that we share with our partners that we have or other executives or agencies that we partner with. So just kind of give you an overview. You will see the names of all the cities, communities that we work with and represent and serve here within Chelan County. You'll see Kolchak behind our patch because I think that's one of the highlights of our county, not the only highlight, but one of them. The patch kind of shows about our tradition, history, coat of arms for agency. You'll see 3 stars on the bottom. That actually represents the 3 deputies who have died in the line of duty of serving the community of Chelan County. Then on the flip side, you'll see our badge. Each one of our deputies has that. And it shows when our agency was established, which was 1900. County was established in 1899. So it's kind of some history. There's a story behind the coin. And again, this is just something we share with those that we get to partner with. We do appreciate that partnership. It means a lot to us. This summer has certainly been an eye opener, just coming in my second year of being sheriff. About the uniqueness of each community we represent. Certainly, we have some challenges logistically this summer, serving the citizens of Stehegan. There and hearing their concerns. And I stressed it, and I've tried to stress it with each city that we met with. I met with Chelan here a couple weeks ago, Cashmere last night, Leavenworth this evening, and Eniat here on Thursday. So we recognize that each community has unique needs, wants, desires for their community and what they want to see from the sheriff's office. I would say your sheriff's office. And we recognize that. We understand each community is different. So we want to take that opportunity to make sure that we are meeting that mark. And that's why coming in that we did allocate that we would have a supervisor that was assigned to each one of our contract cities, Chelan, Leavenworth, Cashmere, Eniat, because that is in a sense our chief for that city, who I get reports back, our chief of patrol gets reports back, our chief of operations. And so far, I feel like that line of communication has been working well, but I always found it's good to get out of your ivory tower. Make sure you're connecting in person just so we can have a better understanding. So I really hope that you get the opportunity to go through this. For those online in the room, we also have our online version. And just summarize each one of our divisions, whether it be detectives, behavioral health, code enforcement, traffic enforcement, our SWAT team, search and rescue, swiftwater rescue, hiding rope rescue, civil and records, emergency management. One thing that's unique with the sheriff's office is that we take on quite a wide spectrum of responsibilities. It's not in line with what most city agencies deal with. This morning, for instance, we had our helicopter flying up the enchantments, conducting 2 search and rescue operations that we had going this morning. In addition to yesterday, we have my chief operations that broke from the office to help deal with evacuations of the home. So these are things that are typically handled by cities. They're really proud of our agency, our groups that have taken on these challenges. And it really so far, as I've heard, met the demands and requests of our community, which is interesting. We have over 80,000 citizens in Chelan County, 2,900 plus square miles. 87% of the county is not accessible by road, yet we're responsible for everything that goes on. So we've enjoyed the challenge so far. But really want to highlight a couple things before I turn it back over to the council, just to answer any questions that maybe had. We were notified yesterday, our Marine Patrol program was selected as the Marine Patrol program for the state for the year 2024, which is pretty impressive because coming into office, I was asking permission to be put back on a probation because we had been kicked off probation in 2020. They granted us that opportunity. Our Marine Patrol deputy heads up our program, was selected as Marine Patrol Officer of the Year last year. And then to see Sergeant Huddleston, our team, really push the program further to be recognized as a group on the state level was very impressive. To expand outside of that, I did just get notification here last week that our Columbia River Drug Task Force, which we're the lead agency, our detective and some from our neighboring partners with SGE will be receiving an award from the U.S. Attorney General's Office in Spokane at the end of the month. For their work in dealing with a drug operation that spanned from Chelan County all the way down to California. We've had our detective specifically assigned, has gone down there several times to testify and were successful in that operation. So it's just good to see that we're getting those kind of results. We understand that 2 of our biggest challenges within the county right now, dealing with those that are unhoused and also the smart drug epidemic that's going on throughout the county. It's challenging as resources have shrunk. Or the state has diverted some of the funds that have traditionally sponsored our drug task force to take these challenges on. But so far, despite the challenges, they've risen to take those on. One thing I'd say that was unique that I forgot to add with our Marine program is that we had all 3 of our vessels break down this summer. Marine 2, which is our primary patrol vessel, had a complete failure. It goes off to be fixed and refurbished here in October. So they were resorted to Marine 3, which is our smaller vessel that we typically use down on Natchez on the river. It just broke down last week because I was actually out personally boating and called our Marine deputy to say, hey, we have a gentleman that's stranded here in the middle of the lake. Can you come here and get him? He's like, well, I'm also stranded and being towed to shore. So fix it. And our bigger vessel that we were using primarily to get up late, it also had 2 catastrophic failures and motors. It cost the county $50,000 to replace them. So, despite those setbacks and the fact that we did have our largest vessel, a lot of our Marine deputies assigned to the fire from June all the way up until recently coming to conclusion, that they still were able to meet the stats they had last year, which was a big push. And then on the positive side, we're getting back towards more of the general operations of the agency. We've been able to expand our behavioral health unit out to 6. We came in office, it was on 3. They arrived with our deputies. They've really helped us come into a lot of situations that are volatile with a better tool. Instead of when I went to the academy and you were dealing with someone in crisis, you simply went in there, You told them what you were gonna have them do. They just want to do it. You made them do it. And at times there'd be a lot of injuries to people on the other side. They're simply trying to provide services and help. So I'm glad to see you involved. As a profession, as an agency, that's good to see. That's really thanks to Anna Gonzalez and her efforts to expand it. The commissioners were generous enough to give us 3 more positions here starting July 1st. So we were at full staff at 57. We've now been given permission to staff up to 60. We're at 59. We currently have 1 lateral that's going through the process. As I understood, he has passed everything. He recently took his second psych exam, and no, he did not fail the first one. Once we get the result back from that, I plan on extending a job offer to him, which will bring us up to full staff again, which has been great. He's been full staffing 3 times so far since been in office, which is great. I know that a lot of our regional partners have struggled with recruitment, and I really don't think it's anything specific that I'm doing, because we live in Chelan County. It's a beautiful area. Why do we not want to come here and work? And thankfully, our agency has been a great landing spot for several entry-level candidates and laterals. But of course, I recognize that full staffing is fleeting. I did have notification here coming into September that I have one of our detectives, 28 years on, submitted his resignation, and he's taking actually the lead homeless task force director position for Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, to take that challenge on. So despite being sad that we're losing a seasoned investigator, we do recognize that he's going to do greater good on that side too, just to help one of our bigger issues. But it's been positive just to see that we still have an interest of those that want to be law enforcement, those that do it at a high level. I think our agency is still setting a pretty high bar for what we want to see statewide. We've been a leader on de-escalation training, control tactics, just overall creating better communicators, and also making sure that we're equipping. We discussed earlier too that like I recognize we're the only agency in the region that didn't have body cameras. We did secure funding through Representative Schreier in her office. That federal funding, it did move at the speed of federal government. I put my submission in for this as I was coming into office in December of 2022. I was notified last week that those funds actually hit our account. And as soon as actually gives access to them, we do plan on getting the software to support the cameras that will be aiming to launch here at the beginning of January, with things going to just add to the transparency. We want to highlight what our deputies do, certainly highlight some of the individuals that we contact out there to show maybe the jury and the judge the reality of who we were dealing with at the time, and not who was sitting in court and may not resemble the individual that we were contacting out there. I think it just gives a greater picture of the community too, to see what happened in certain instances. I know we had our shooting up at Chumstick last year, along with our shooting at the end of the year on Eastmont. And certainly we'd like to be able to, once those investigations are concluded, because we're just wrapping up, is be able to provide a video and say, look what our deputies dealt with, look what they're taking on. They acted with professionalism, in compliance with their training, and really everything we want to see out of Chelan County Sheriff deputies. So looking forward to that coming online. We put in for some additional funding, and get some further de-escalation tools. We're looking at new tasers, because our tasers are starting to time out. Ball wraps, that is actually a device that shoots out Kevlar webbing and wraps around subjects to, in a sense, kind of sense them up. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of, in a sense, disturb their movement, and we can go in and go hands-on, hopefully avoid further fights. And we're transitioning from our beanbag shotguns that we use, looking for 4mm launchers that shoot out rubber projectiles, in a sense to, again, try to distract those individuals, gain compliance with them, along with our pepper ball rifles that we've been utilizing that actually allow us to shoot in tear gas to get people to surrender. It was a great example of this tool being used with the assistant county here. Earlier in the year, we had a subject who was stolen vehicle out of Brewster. State Patrol got in pursuit of them. He crashed out around the Rondo. Our deputies came over to assist Douglas County, barricaded himself in the car overnight. We were able to use our cover ball guns to put in. We had glass breaker rounds to go in there, broke the glass. Once the glass was broken, we transitioned to pepper ball rounds, filled the car with gas, got him to come out, still wouldn't drop the knife, so we hit him with our 4mm launchers that we do have deployed with SWAT. I think eventually after he saw the tools we were using, we weren't trying to close the gap behind him. He surrendered. He's allowed to come. Thankfully, we didn't have to resort to other means of force. So it's kind of some of the areas we've been really proud of, where he's heading to, and hope that we can continue to push that direction. I did want to touch on your information you brought to us. So traffic enforcement is a unit that we created back in 2013. If you look at our stats in our annual report, they've put up the highest stats that they've had since the program's inception. Traffic is very much one of our projects. We want to take those things on. We want to hear And we also have our own speed trailer. Leavenworth is one of our contract cities, so their problems are our problems. And we're aware of Pine Street. I know that the re-engineering of it, when we had Alpine Lakes Elementary go in, certainly slowed it down just simply based off on how it was engineered. We focus on three things for our traffic enforcement education. And of course, we want correct behavior. Engineering, we work quite closely with Public Works. I know that we work with some of our city partners as well. Talk about areas where we've had problems to see, can we redesign the road? The disturbing fact is actually typically learned that a lot of times we have a speed problem, that they raise the speed limit, they actually don't lower it. But again, that's for someone who has a much higher education than myself. And then last is enforcement. We try to have that be our last resort. All of our stats we had last year, we only cited 18% of the people we stopped. That was our goal, is that there are certain individuals we can't reach, and we're gonna have to try to deliver a different message to them. Most we found that we can change behaviors by working with Public Works or educating them to don't slow down. But we do document when we stop people. So if I stop you this week and you're doing 10 over and we talk about it, the next week I stop you doing 10 over, probably be a different discussion, probably a ticket. So we are interested in that. I will relay a message to our chief of patrol, our sergeant for traffic enforcement. I know we're already working on the project out on Icicle. It certainly is always a seasonal challenge for us. One of the interesting parts about that is that you're not dealing with locals. We're more dealing with people that are coming here to visit our community and our county. So you may not get the opportunity to get to interact with them. Again, if you're just getting that one opportunity to connect with them. And certainly we have heard frustrations from some of our locals in the area that are getting stop bikes. We reminded them, hey, you lived here long enough, you know what the speed limit is on Icicle. Please be considerate. It's kind of a summary. I go on, happy with the way the agency's going, but certainly recognizing that we're not content with that. You know, we can provide better service. And we want to hear that the citizens we serve, the cities we contract with. You said, you know, we're appreciative to have this relationship. We don't take it lightly. So we have to continue to earn your trust and meet the standards you set for us. So just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. I certainly hope Corporal Lake has been providing the level of service that we expected. Certainly appreciate the insights brought back to us.
Yep, thank you. But Travis, you got a question?
Yeah, no, I just want to say, hey, it is a fine balance of law enforcement and courtesy with our guests and local people in the community. And I appreciate that the level of courtesy that all the sheriff's deputies and everybody has extended the past so many years. It's great. I'm right behind you, by the way. I'm up on the screen. Okay, yeah, I can't tell if you can see me. Okay. Yeah, hey, so but my question is with the body cams, my cousin is in charge of all the digital assets for Des Moines police. And with the body cams comes with responsibility with getting media requests and public requests for that content. Is that a part of your plan too, and your budget is everybody getting a cam, and then you've got all that backup with all the staff that you need to push that out?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So when we put in for our funding, I did take into consideration, number one, that these are typically 5-year contracts. So we did extend our contract funding out for those 5 years, but I also recognize you're talking to Douglas County, East Wenatchee that's already running it, but they're saying that you definitely want to have extra personnel on staff to deal with your public disclosure requests, because certainly you were inundated with them immediately. So I did request in that funding to cover 2 additional records civil personnel for 2 years to help us offset that. I did talk to my chief civil deputy who oversees civil records. She discussed, hey, for the first year, I don't want to take on additional personnel. I think that our staffing that we have and their workload, that we can handle this influx. I said, you're my chief in this category. I cited my concerns just based off what I've heard from other agencies, but I trust her opinion. I said, well, we will have this funding still available. If we need to, we can bring additional personnel on to deal with the influx of what I would perceive is also going to be public disclosure requests. But I've also been advocating on the state level with the Washington Association of Sheriff Police Chiefs that we need to take a solid look at our public disclosure rules and laws across Washington State. I think there are certainly groups that are going in and just trying to do it for profit, not really for transparency sakes or to assess how our agencies are progressing. So we've been working on trying to cut back on that. We certainly have seen this system be abused. We understand why it's there. But on our side, just to prepare for it, yes, funding is in place. We know that that challenge is coming and we have the resources available. We're also working with Acton, that's who we've agreed to go with. That's going to go with a command mobile center that'll link up to our drone assets that we now have in hand. So we're going to a SWAT call out or a standoff. Our incident command center can now run a screen up front that'll see the body cameras for every deputy that's involved, in addition to every drone that's in the air. So we have all angles and those are stored to our cloud system as well. So we have been keeping it in mind, the additional costs that's going to be associated with how many videos and bits of information we're going to have saved. So I'm sure there'll be hurdles and there'll be areas where we could have done this better, but we certainly reached out to other agencies that have already gone down this path and we said, what would you suggest for us as we're coming into this? So I'm hoping that we prepare ourselves as best as possible, but I'm certainly recognizing that we're going to have moments where we'll trip. We'll have to improve and adapt to it.
Have you guys decided if it's going to be a free in the beginning and then figure out a cost associated, a nominal cost for these requests? Is there going to be a charge to that right away?
Yeah, we already have fees applied to our public disclosure requests. So I think that's assisted us, but I can tell you my executive assistant, several members within our agency are certainly no stranger to public disclosure requests. I'm sure anyone who's followed Chelan County has seen that in the past that we had some pending litigation as was coming into office. That certainly led to some challenges. I think that we're going to be storing records for 10 additional years. We actually just got done building a new archives facility for our records simply because where we had them stored before, we're more vulnerable to leaks from the jail above us. So we moved it to another location that was climate controlled, had video cameras inside of it so we could better track. So we're trying to keep all angles of how best do we handle our records that we do have, accessing them and how can we streamline them to make them more accessible, but also on the other side, working with it to hopefully get some legislation in place that will deter those that are just trying to make this a for-profit venture going out, just simply going up and down. The I-5 corridor seems to be the biggest target we hear about is simply trying to prey on cities and counties and municipalities. The ASPA requests are certainly they're not going to be able to meet. And I want to see stop them from that. I don't mind handing over our reports and our videos, but if you're simply doing it just to try to overwhelm our system, I think that defeats the purpose of disclosure requests.
Any other questions?
Chef Morrison, I was gonna ask, can you make any comment about where you're at with the issue of cross construction on top of the Tumwater Bridge?
Yeah, so our code enforcement deputies already went through and issued paperwork as discussed with community development to I'd say the structure down in Wenatchee, the one that was under construction here. As I understood talking to our commissioners, I believe the resolution had already been reached between the commissioners and community development on the issue. And I was supposed to get an update. I know at the time that our code enforcement deputies have been told, you've done your portion of communication, has now been open between community developments and the entities in charge of both projects here in Wenatchee and Leavenworth. So we're standing by. We understand that, the whole goal was to establish the opportunity for them to have open lines of dialogue with community developments, ensure it's in compliance with Chelan County Code. And if it came to a moment where either one of those entities didn't want to comply with Chelan County Code, then of course we'd be introduced into the conversation, and then we deal with it on our end, whichever was deemed appropriate. As I understood today, talking to our commissioners, resolution had been found, and that they were considering the matter pushing to so we're glad to hear that. Our code enforcement deputies continue to deal with their caseload that they have spread throughout the county. But if this comes back up, they're ready to deal with that as well.
All right, thanks.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
For residents. Is there any particular kind of transgression or crime that you're seeing more of that we should be aware of?
If I were to look at it, I mean, it seems to be pretty common here for Chelan County as property crimes. So you have your burglaries, you have your thefts. I think a lot of that is tied in closely with our drug problem that we've been also just really strong encouraging to put posts on our social media. We've been trying our best to maintain transparency on the digital side as well, talking about what our agency is doing and what problems we're addressing. If you're going to try it, you're busy here, please do not leave thousands of dollars of stuff in your vehicle. Make sure you're clearing your vehicles out. We have a suspect that's already been identified for our most recent trailhead burglaries, vehicle files in the city. Fortunately, there's an individual who will be arrested, back in 2021. See that he's back out doing the same thing. It appears that he's back out doing the same thing. All of our evidence is sort of pointing for subject of interest. It's something we're willing to take on, but we'll sort of ask for the community to help us out by not leaving items in your car. And I was just hiking this weekend, up our beautiful county. Made sure that my car was cleaned out just simply because I know who's going with these drives along the way. We also ask residents to make sure they're not leaving items out in front of their residence unsecured. Unfortunately, if you leave the opportunity for individuals to be able to take things easily, they're going to. I know that we've had a lot of issues with bike thefts within Leavenworth. They're just brazenly coming up to people's houses, taking them off the porch. Again, I'd say, you have a $5,000 bike, it probably should not be outside of your residence secured. I wish that we lived in times when we could leave our vehicles unlocked, our houses unlocked. Items out, but it's just not the reality of it. We could be out there being proactive, controlling, arresting people over and over. But there's always going to be some problem afterwards to do the same. So just there are individuals unfortunately want to victimize people. We'll continue to aggressively but professionally pursue them. I made it very clear that our motto, we talked about it, our mission was a modified version of no greater friend, no worse enemy. So we wanted the community, anyone visiting Chelan County, to know no greater friend than Chelan County Sheriff's deputy. But if you want to come here and victimize our visitors or our citizens, then we're greater than County Sheriff's deputy. And we take pride that even last week, we had our detectives went over to Monroe to arrest a subject who committed crimes here in Chelan County. If you don't mind going to other county, we will reach out and touch you lawfully. Just like the old slogan was for the phone service. So we want to pursue. I think we have a pretty good reputation that's spread through King County, Snohomish County. That Chelan County is crazy enough to come and find you, even if you decide to go to the hill. And that's not cutting you out for even the burglars we had at Lake Wenatchee here last year. We went all the way to North Idaho to find him too and bring him back. So you don't mind travel. My suggestion would simply be that thefts, burglaries, vehicle problems continue to be an issue. I know that we talked offline, Mr. Sylvia and Mayor Floria, that we are bringing a system in that's going to be advanced license plate reader technology that's going to be coming throughout the county. 73 other agencies across Washington State already use it. Certainly been trying my best to clarify. This is not a red light camera. We're not looking to collect fines. This is not a speed camera. We're not looking to collect fines. We recognize that in 2008, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office had 68 commissioned deputies. Our population was only 7,000 around that time. You fast forward almost 15 plus years, or almost 20 years. We're now at 80,000 plus. We have 60 commissioned deputies, technically 59 of that are 60th individual. We are not keeping up with the growth of our agency, the massive growth of this community. So we're turning towards technology to say, how can we expand our presence, have our footprint out there, and help us solve crimes? I know that Yakima, when you brought this system on through fraud, to deal with stolen vehicles, they saw a significant increase. Same with Moses Lake Police Department, Spokane Police Department. This is a tool that, for example, let's say that we had a residential burglary out of Lake Wenatchee, and we get residential cameras that take a side image of the vehicle, and it seems to be a single cab pickup that has front passenger side damage and a silver toolbox and a bumper sticker on the driver's side. Our deputies can type in saying, I'm Deputy Smith. This is my personnel number. This is my case number. I am looking for a vehicle that would have passed through this area between these times, matching this description. I can type in single cab pickup, silver toolbox, front passenger side damage, bumper sticker on the driver's side. And it'll pass, okay, between this time. These are all the vehicles that went through. It does not collect or store any kind of information on someone's face. Unless I could say, one of the examples that we had, if you are hanging outside of your car, and you're charging your firearm, we'll probably get a pretty good image of you. But it is manual, it registers your vehicle and the license plate that we can use as tools. Because I understand that again, 2,900 square miles, We cannot expect our deputies to be in every single location where an incident takes place. Nor is it likely that we will be. So we have worked with Flock, one of the companies, to kind of get the where we could possibly mount cameras. We're looking in areas where we have choke points coming in. Thankfully, there's only a couple of ways you get in Chelan County. Setting up those cameras, and this is a joint operation we've run with Douglas County Sheriff's Office, Eastern SCPD, and Wenatchee. I can tell you, Washington State Patrol is also utilizing the system. We're just getting ready to set the pilot program in motion here within the next couple of weeks. So you are seeing this technology that's taking hold statewide. I certainly understand the concerns from the community. You know, is this an invasion of my privacy? Is this Big Brother watching? I can tell you that Washington State Department of Transportation needs cameras that collect the same kind of information. They just use it for different purposes. Have already been up in play within this state for years. There doesn't seem to be complaints where there have been information that's been misused. And certainly we see the concerns, because you have seen cases where you have unfortunately law enforcement officers that use this technology in other counties, and that's why we want to follow the outcome. For the having transparency portal showing what the system's been used for, who's accessed it, what cases it's been associated to, and we understand it is open for public disclosure as well. We recognize that this is just the beginning of trying to utilize technology to our favor, be it force multipliers. I view it, you have a system that's not going to call in sick, not going to take vacation days. I certainly want our deputies to take vacation. I want them to take sick days because that's good work-life balance. So I think it prolongs their productivity. We also need that resource that's not going to take those days off. This is something that we were doing a 2-year trial period to say, how does it work? Do we get the results? One thing that we like about it is that if it's not delivering, I can simply call up the manufacturer and say, come get all of your equipment. We don't want it. We don't maintain it. Don't have to worry about storage because it all goes through the company. So we don't have to mention that. And actually, we talked about public disclosure. They have the luxury that we do not. Typically are storing 7 to 10 years. They have 30 days. Once that 30-day window is gone, it's deleted off their system. We don't maintain it. So I think that's also a benefit of the sheriff's office as well, is that we don't have to worry about storing it for the amount of time that we typically would, unless we find that it's evidence and then we do store it into our system because it is evidence for a crime. And then we have the typical storage requirements that we have. So that's one thing that's kind of a neat project. And we're still in the works of trying to work through our legal side too, to make sure that the contract reads properly. We're in compliance with the state auditor's office too, that we're utilizing the grant that we were awarded to pay for this. Is in compliance with us spending on it. So as much as I like document and seeing the presentation, I'd rather make sure that we're also getting a good bill of health when we do our financial audit too on some of the grants. Because right now, just a little over 18 months in, I think we're well over $3 million in grants that we've secured on the sheriff's office side. So because we recognize I can't come to Board of County Commissioners every time that I want to purchase something and we're getting some to expand our capabilities. So we work really hard to secure grant funding, not just Chelan County citizens to pay for some of the things we're trying. So that's all I have.
Great. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too.
Sorry, you politicians that really start off.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're elected.
I know. So I'm getting long-winded.
All right, moving on. We've got resolutions, ordinance order. Resolution 15, 2024. That's Maggie.
That is me. Well, as most of you know, we are going through our big periodic update of the comprehensive plan. And part of that is developing a public participation program. The document you have in front of you in your packet is what has been put together. This program describes how we're going to be engaging with the public during this comprehensive plan update. I do want you to know this is a living document. So if throughout the process we need to update it, we can do that. We just need to have a plan in place that shows that we are going to provide the opportunity for public engagement and in a variety of forms and to reach a variety of people. I don't want to be too long-winded, but as drafted, I had a lot of help. I put the materials together and I have to give, Kara some props here because she did a fabulous job putting it together and making it more user friendly and readable than just a 3-page Word document. So I'm really happy with how it came together and describing the process and how we plan to engage with the public. Last night was a testament of just how awesome this community is and wanting to be engaged and wanting their voices heard. So again, this is just a plan showing that we are planning that engagement in a variety of ways. So I have a resolution drafted, asking you to please look through this and move forward with adoption. This has gone through the planning commission during the August meeting. We made a few little tweaks based on feedback I received from them. Other than that, no major issues.
11, where city council moves to approve resolution 15, 2024 public participation program for comprehensive plan.
Moved by Rona, seconded by Ann. Any other comments? Travis?
Yeah, I have a question. This is just about having the communication with the public. I am curious about the follow through. Like what do we do with this? Or can we only meet and discuss things in our study sessions? Like, will we then take all of this? Are we going to be able to communicate with each other before we have the final meeting with the public so we can all discuss this before October?
Yeah, this is going to be a long process and just a lot of different engagement tools, so surveys and workshops. So I think you're going to have I'll probably be coming to you with this is where we're at. So you're not just going to get a document in front of you that we're asking you to adopt. There's going to be a lot of feedback and communication. This is obviously our comprehensive plan is a joint document with everybody. It's the community's vision. There's going to be.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking too is the scorecard. Our last comprehensive plan, how are we doing? What's the scorecard? What's the evaluation? Are we evaluating that? Or this is, like you said, this is all great and we're setting it up and we're communicating, but then because I haven't seen the whole process through, when do we get to discuss and then evaluate how we did from the last one? Does that make sense? Am I off base?
Are you talking about the comprehensive plan we're currently operating under right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. And I've been looking at it for a couple of years. It's not clear to me that we are adhering to it that well. So I think that's what you're asking is how do we track after we do it if we stick to it?
I mean, hold accountable at some level, right? I mean, we listened to the public and then we followed through, right?
I mean, there are goals and policies that drive our decision making and our codes, right? And every project that comes through, we're required to look at the comprehensive plan and document that it is compliant with the comp plan. So every change, code change we pass, every conditional use permit we issue, every building permit we issue. We're looking at the comprehensive plan through all of that.
I would love to see us lead in the next comprehensive plan that we do, not this one necessarily, because we're in it, but hey, here's what we set forth and here's how we did on the last one and look at what we've done. This is good stuff. Now let's talk about the comprehensive plan we're working on. Does that make sense to kind of start with how we moved forward from the last comprehensive plan and then discuss what we want to do for the next one?
Travis, could I ask, are you thinking from a budget perspective? I think about our scorecard. We just had an audit report. It was great, but all the capital projects that we do every year, all the planning that we do for all those projects, is that a piece of what you're envisioning?
It's one of those, we've done such an amazing job and we've had the public, say what we did such an amazing job last night and the community's coming together and communicating. What I'm just saying is in lay terms, letting the public know on the next one, hey, we did listen to you and here's the things and here's the budget, here's all the grants that we found $5 million in grants and they covered the roads and here's just in one communication before the next comprehensive plan. Does that make sense? It could be my stroke I had earlier. I don't know. Way off.
I think it makes good sense, and the budget document is a great tool for a citizen to understand what the city has done, as well as what direction the city is going. And it's not just about money, it's about those projects and those commitments and how we're connecting with the community. But the comp plan, you know, goes into the procedural side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What you're saying is we've had these goals out there, like get the playground done at Osborne, get these streets paved a certain place. And then that was in that plan before, come back and say, here's what we got done. Check, check. Is that what you're kind of scorecard?
Yeah, because it's positive stuff and it just lets the public know that, hey, this is, it leads into a real positive start to the conversation of the comprehensive plan. It lets them know that they do have a voice. This is the underline, this is what we hear more often lately, right? Is, oh, I really don't feel like I have a voice. That really confirms we are listening. And we did do these things and we've done them along the way and we've told you along the way, and that's great. But it's like this is such a great opportunity where we saw so much of the public last night that, and this is only going to build. It really sounds like that. These are so great, these town halls. And I think it's just a great opportunity to just, in lay terms, one slide, one PDF of, hey, here's what we did.
I have a thought, because I've read I read our comprehensive plan about probably a year and a half ago. I don't know if everyone on the council has read the comprehensive plan, but you know, we should all start there. I don't know if you've read it, but we all should read our current comprehensive plan. Then we'd have a sense about where we're at with it.
Yeah.
I agree. It's on the council, it's one thing, but I'm talking about, yeah, lay terms and regular people, and yeah, it's available. I get it. Okay, maybe it's already being done.
So is this motion strictly, I mean, to approve having this public participation program?
Right, it's spelled out in that the layout that's there under tab, what, it's 12.
Yeah, we're required to have this program it's part of the comprehensive plan update. We need to have a program in place.
Yes.
And so this
Oh,
is
yeah.
actually adopting a program that we are going to follow.
Okay, so there's no
ensure we have
things tied to this. We're just simply saying we want to have these 3 meetings.
No, this is far beyond the 3 meetings. That 3 meetings is just a kickoff for a much more detailed. So that plan that's in there goes way beyond the 3 meetings.
This is saying we are going to involve the public in this whole process and how we are going to do that in different ways. We're going to do face-to-face, we're going to do workshops, we're going to do surveys. We want to hear from you is basically what we're asking from the public. And that when we finally get to the end and adoption of our new comprehensive plan, that it is a collaborative effort. And so this is just our program in place on community engagement and making sure that we're required to show that we're engaging people.
So when you say this goes way beyond it, what are you saying?
I'm saying it's a much broader than just these opening 3 visioning sessions. That's just the beginning of this longer year-long process of engagement in multiple ways. And that's what this tries to spell out, is all the different ways. So besides these opening visioning sessions, it goes into, and it's not, as Maggie said, it's a fluid plan. We can add things, but it gives you a general map, I guess, of where.
And it's not a specific agenda. It's just saying we are going to use workshops and special events. We're not just going to have a hearing and a meeting. We want more outreach. We want to have meet with groups, and maybe we have a meeting at the senior center to discuss something that might be important to that specific group. We want to hear from more variety. And so rather than just having all our community outreach at public meetings, maybe we do
this is a way to show that we're going to do more, that we're committed to doing.
And you've summed it up here.
Yeah, it's just a summary there.
And it's a work in progress.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Moved by Rona, seconded by Ann. Are we ready for a vote? Are you ready?
I'm not sure I am.
Oh.
I don't, I just didn't read it that way.
What did you think it was, Sharon?
I thought it was just saying that we're gonna have public meetings.
All kinds of public engagements, but not just meetings, mailings, meetings, reach out, surveys.
The process is
Process, very big.
very comprehensive, just like our comprehensive plan, very comprehensive. Lots of different ways to try and make sure that we're connecting with all demographics and aspects of our community. So not just public meetings, different ways of outreaching to make sure that we are connecting with everybody the way that they connect. Not everybody is online, not everybody reads the newspaper, not everybody reads public notices, those sorts of things. So lots of different ways to outreach so that we get people interacting with us through this whole annual process, because this won't be completed until the end of next year. So it's how we're engaging with the community through that whole
And that visioning event is great. It got good response and it's wonderful. There's lots of demographic that don't go to those. So how do and I mean, I thought Christine Morgan made a good point. There's a lot of folks.
Right.
But a lot of folks that aren't here. And so how do you reach out, for instance, in the Hispanic community? You're not going to get them by having an event in the fest hall. You're going to go to them. So maybe going down, even working with men, Anyway, it'll be a comprehensive outreach. So that we can put a plan that
These are
engages
guidelines.
as much.
Okay, just a minute. So that we're not leading the public that doesn't live in the city limits down any kind of primrose lane.
No, this is how we're gonna connect with the community within our city limits and the urban growth area, because the comprehensive plan also applies to the UGA.
Okay, I can deal with that. I get it.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution 15, 2024, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. We've got resolution 16, 2024. So,
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I hate to spring this on you because normally we like to have a few touches on things before we ask you to take action, but this one rose to the top because we had a break between meetings. I think you've all heard a local resident is trying to build an ice rink in town. He's presented to this board or this council in the past. And one of the things that he includes in his packet is a resolution that was adopted by a prior council, resolution 41, 2012, which he's proposed. He seems to interpret as the city promising a gift of $500,000 towards the development of an ice pavilion in Leavenworth. The resolution itself was written for the Leavenworth Ski Hill Heritage Foundation, not for this private entity that is proposing an ice rink. And the $500,000 figure was related to the land that the city was willing to donate for that project at that time, which was the Cold Chuck parking lot behind the Fest Hall. So that land, that parking lot was at that time worth about $500,000. I would guess that we've, by charging for parking, made more than $500,000 in parking revenue from that parking lot since 2012. We would never at this point in time consider
We could look in the finance report.
giving up that
It's all in there.
for an ice rink. So we discussed this internally. There was a recent application. We had a pre-application meeting. Again, this resolution was brought up. We thought that it might be prudent just to ask the council to repeal the resolution of 14, 2021. And if this entity does indeed believe that the council should be supporting his private development of a Leavenworth ice rink, he should come back to this council and ask for its support in form of a new resolution. Okay.
Yeah, I had a question. So was the original resolution 41-2012, it was written that the city would donate the Kolchak parking lot
Yes,
to the Leavenworth Ski Hill Heritage Foundation?
yes.
Okay.
Which never occurred.
I may be the only one on this panel that was here during that time.
And then,
Sharon may have been, but,
I covered it.
we received multiple presentations from Leavenworth Winter Sports Club. The city delved into the project deeply. Our city administrator at the time, as well as some of our council members, traveled to other communities within Washington and Oregon and looked at ice rink pavilions and facilities to see if they would even be viable. The results were not good. And at some point, after a few years after this resolution was done, the Leavenworth Winter Sports Club just stopped coming and,
right.
you know, they couldn't come up with funding to even build the facility. So let alone the property value was one thing, but it was a multi-million dollar project.
Yeah, there was also a feasibility study that was conducted. It's been a while since I reviewed it. That feasibility said that the ice rink could operate in the black. I think that around $30,000 a year, but that was if it was just magically constructed with no city funds and no debt.
So why does this resident think that he's entitled to?
Because he keeps on relying on this one resolution where there was a council in 2012 that supported the idea of an ice pavilion in Leavenworth and promised to donate $500,000 worth of land
To someone that was going to build.
to a nonprofit entity at that time, which
The
was.
resolution is specific to the Leavenworth Ski
Yeah.
Heritage Foundation, and this individual is not associated with that.
So why would we need to repeal? the
Just
resolution then?
because it would clean up the fact that he continues to interpret that this was a hard and fast commitment to 500,000. And just to not have to keep going through it, not to have to keep hearing it, just say.
Well, and the Leavenworth Ski Hill Heritage Foundation is no longer pursuing this endeavor as an organization, and the cost of that property has gone up significantly in the last 14 or 12 years.
Yeah.
So, a lot of different things I think lead to.
I would also add that part of the reason that a council does a resolution like this is for support purposes. So Leavenworth Winter Sports Club was going out to seek funding from investors. And this resolution helped their case when they went to those investors with their project ideas.
Cause there'd be real estate available. possibly.
Correct. Yes. So it wasn't, yes, we're gonna give it to you, absolutely. The resolution was a commitment to do so if the project could come to fruition.
And so what's being kind of misused is there's no $500,000 that the city can just hand over. It was connected to the value
Just the
value of
value.
the lot, yeah.
values of real estate at that time.
At that time.
Well, I think there was, I had one more question.
We can still do questions.
Well, I was just curious whether, we had to consult with the city attorney at all.
The city can review this for sure.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we don't have to do this because it wouldn't apply anyway,
right.
but we have to keep hearing it and having it come before us and having
Okay, that was
staff
my last
time
question.
spent on it. And this would just say, it's gone.
Yeah.
All right.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve resolution 16/20/2024 to repeal resolution 41/2012 Pavilion Ice Rink.
Second.
By Romo, seconded by, I heard you first.
I heard Ann first.
She's further down the line. All those in favor, let me see your hands.
You did have a question from the audience if you wanted to entertain.
Oh, is there?
He had raised his hand.
I was just gonna point out, Ron Johnston, 224 Kesley. I was just gonna point out that nobody really said that the Leavenworth Ski Hill group really was done. It was just assumed that they stopped coming. And if you're gonna, it's irrelevant, I think, but it's just a thought that it would have been nice to have known.
Yeah.
I know they were talking about who's going to run this facility? And at one point, the Ski Hill folks thought they could, Brett, I can't think of his last name right now, is involved. But they couldn't sustain doing that.
Yeah. They dropped off of the radar a while. You know, it's not.
I spoke to them last year and they haven't been pursuing it ever since 2012.
Is there a reason why this person is a mystery?
Shouldn't be a mystery.
Well, I'm guessing it's not, but I don't know, it just seems kind of
Sharon, do you
strange.
wanna know who
talking
it
about
is?
this.
Yeah, she knows who it is.
Well, I
I
think
think
I
you know
know
who
who it
this
is, but it just seemed funny to not have a person's name.
But we don't have to name a person,
Oh, well,
but if you want to.
no, I don't care.
Did we vote on this?
Yes.
Passed.
We did, yeah, we did.
Passed unanimously. Let's move on.
Did
14,
we
professional-
actually vote? We did? Okay, I put up my hand.
You did.
Maybe.
I think everybody, I don't remember. You
I
guys.
just want to make sure
Maybe we can
that
vote
it's been
again.
duly noted before we move on here. Okay, thank you.
It passed unanimously.
I revote.
Yeah.
Action 14, Andy.
Thank you. This is for the Front Street Pedestrian Plaza, professional services agreement. So giving a little bit of background, we put an RFQ out for this project. We received 6 responses. A combination of city staff and downtown steering committee reviewed all of those responses. We interviewed the top 3 firms and ultimately, a selection committee composed of 4 staff members and 3 downtown steering committee members selected SOMAS as the most qualified consultant. And so the scope of this project, the physical scope of this project ranges. It's very confusing. We actually have 2 portions of Front Street that are from US 2 to Division. So this is the western portion from Gustav's to Division Street on Front Street. And then this also includes 8th and 10th Street between Commercial Street, Front Street as well. So there is a map that's shown in the attachments in SOMAS's actual scope as well. But it's a very large area that we're incorporating into this. And ultimately here, the pedestrian plaza won't necessarily apply to 8th and 10th, but we also included those in the scope just because those streets have not undergone any of the improvements like we have on 9th and Central, some of the other streets in the downtown core. As far as the actual contractual scope that's presented before you, SOMAS was selected for the entirety of the project. It was very clear when we selected them and in their contract that they were selected from design all the way through construction of this project. Yet the actual contract before you tonight is just for the pre-design portion. This does include a substantial amount of background data acquisition, and that really is why this cost is so high for the end, percentage of the design we're going to get out of this. So ultimately, we're going to get a 10% design out of this. But I do really want to caveat that with the fact that there is a ton of background data that is going to go into this process. So right now, downtown steering and city staff have been working together to develop what a scope would look like for improvements to Front Street and, like I talked about, in 10th Street as well. And really, there's so many components that we need to wrap our heads around and understand how all of these components are going to interact with one another. What's actually feasible to construct down there? Some of the things that have been thrown out as far as like ball things and those types of things are like having a portion that has snow melt, like heated sidewalks. So there's all of these things that have been discussed, but really the point of this document is to go through all of those in detail, understand what's actually feasible, how some of these, how all of these can interact with one another. And have all of the CAD files, all of the geotech, all of the investigation of our existing pipes down there included in the scope of this project. And in the end, they will produce 10% design documents and a pre-design report that will ultimately be our direction to continue on the final design and give us a much better understanding of what the total cost of this project will be. So that's what the professional services agreement is before you tonight. This is fully funded by lodging tax. Yeah, other than that, I'm here if you have any questions.
So Andy, the 495,000 plus, that's only 10%. That's not to exceed, that's the design, 10% design cost.
10% design cost.
Simulating all this data and getting to a part where you know what fits together.
Absolutely, and that is why I do want to emphasize the fact that with all of this background information, that's why this is a very expensive cost that is much more than 10% of the actual design of the project itself, because we're front loading all of this data acquisition at the beginning in this phase.
So if I'm hearing you right, 10% of the design, but the 10% is a big 10% because we're taking all these threads, the knowns, the unknowns, we're weaving them together, trying to figure out what the unintended consequences are from all of that, and basically taking all the threads and weaving it together into a tapestry we can see, so that the rest of the 90% we have a roadmap and figure out where we're going. That's the 10% we're doing.
Could you presented, you said that way. And honestly, I'm sorry, the 10% is a confusing term. That's something that we use. A conceptual design also exists, but yeah, exactly what you're saying, Clint. Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot of weeding to do.
There's a lot of weeding to do, yes.
I would entertain a motion.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with KPG, Incorporated, Somas PNW Group for the Front Street Pedestrian Plaza project with a not to exceed amount of $495,505.95.
Shane got it.
Shane got it.
Very nice.
Oh, darn. What do you guys?
They want the project.
It's nice to see how competitive you are. Any more? Any more comments, questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. 15, supplemental agreement, Cabot Dow, Celtic.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. In January 23, the city issued an RFP for on-call HR consulting services. Through this process, we contracted with Cabot Dow Associates for 2 years with a not to exceed of $30,000. Work through this contract has included an HR audit, review of job descriptions, help with disciplinary issues, various other HR consulting, and a compensation study for all positions. This supplement agreement, before you deny it, extends that contract with CDA through December 31st, 25. With an additional $30,000 with a new so it would be a new not to exceed of $60,000. And a lot of that was gobbled up by the compensation study.
The first 30,000,
Yeah.
the first 30,000.
Yeah, we're just at the end. Like, if we don't get this, then we might not be able to continue to pay the bill for the rest of the year.
Got it. The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute supplemental agreement number 1 with Cabot Dow Associates Incorporated for on-call human resources consulting with a new not to exceed amount of $60,000.
Second.
Moved by Ann, seconded by Zeke. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. We're skipping 16, we go to 17. Andrew.
Yeah, so this is for the purchase of a Cat 326 skid steer loader. This is a Bobcat. And then the attachments associated with it. So really the driver behind this is that we are intending to maintain Front Street between Division and US 2, this time on the eastern portion of it, over to Dan's. Starting this year. And so really in order to do so, we do need additional resources for our staff in order to plow that sidewalk. And there's 2 drivers behind this. One is that this is a large route that's used by tourists to access town, so parking in the area and then walking into the main downtown. But the secondary is for safe routes to school. So this also ties directly, it would feed anyone who lives, between Commercial and Front Street. From Division over to 14th, people would feed up onto the sidewalk there, students would feed to the sidewalk there, and then be able to navigate all the rest of our safe routes to school. Which in this area primarily right now are the highway sidewalks and then over the Chumstick and up to the schools. And so in order to add this additional area onto our plowed sidewalks, we do need an additional Bobcat. So we do have the staffing available for that. But again, this is just another piece of equipment. And then also as we look at future expansion of our sidewalk network, item 16 will come back to you. This is more just us refining the fee. But we do have the funding in place in order to construct additional sidewalk on Ski Hill from where we left off on Evans Street up to Pine Street. So once that sidewalk is constructed, we will also be adding that to our safe routes to school plow route, and this bobcat can also be used there as well. So right now, the way we're proposing this is 75% lodging tax and 25% general fund in order to fund this bobcat, again, because it's primarily going to be used down on that section of Front Street that is used for tourist use, but then also for student use as well.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a purchase order with NC Machinery in the amount of $89,327.15 for a CAT 226 skid steer loader and attachments.
Second.
Is that you, Ronan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I heard it, but moved by Zeke, seconded by Ronnie. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. Andy, is this also going to help kind of the issue that we've been talking back and forth on the council for the last year and a half with regard to plowing Front Street and pushing snow up on sidewalks that the residents have already cleared? And this will kind of help us clear that issue out.
It is, I do want to be really clear that this area is strategic and we're intentionally looking at this area because it is a location that we can directly get both tourists and students on. While I do understand there have previously been complaints and concerns in this area, that's not the main driver behind that. And this is also not, yes, that's not a precedent that we want to set. This is just a strategic area that we can expand our sidewalk network that will tie into the rest of the sidewalks we have.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. And Chantel, a surplus.
Yeah. So council, this is a bit of a housekeeping item, if you will. We had an opportunity to read the write-up. We are asking to go ahead and surplus out the 2005 O'Brien sewer jetter. If you recall, we bought the 2024 Vector, that big beautiful piece of equipment that we had at the barbecue this year. And that was specific to replace the 2019 Vector that we had purchased, thinking it would be powerful enough, which it was not. Which that one had been purchased to replace the 2004 Tiger Vector. And the O'Brien sewer jetter works in conjunction with that very old Vector at the time of when council surplused both the 04 and the 19 items. It was not realized by the public works staff that that additional piece should also go. So that's what we're doing tonight. It's just authorizing surplus of that final piece. And so you are aware, there are 3 other pieces of equipment that council has already authorized previously through rotation of equipment that we've just been waiting to do them all together. The other 3 additional pieces include a Bobcat, the previous sweeper, as well as a John Deere mower. So all 6 of these items I will put out and release on public surplus auction by this Friday. And they will be out there for the public to bid on for 21 days.
Does the Bobcat come with the snowblower attachment?
It will say what it's coming with. I think it has a snow blower, but not a brush or a bucket. I think, but yes, check the write-up. I've got all my
Someone gonna be
notes
bidding?
upstairs.
Mr. Bear?
Just curious.
People. Let me promote. John said the John Deere mower is in an exceptional state.
My yard.
If you need a street sweeper.
I don't
we
think
got a
your
great
yard,
street sweeper.
yard's big enough for a Bobcat either.
Actually, yeah, did all of our.
Oh, yeah, right. You've got some neighbors that would like
I'd be
you.
more interested in the Bobcat for moving. Snow.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve the surplus of the 2005 O'Brien sewer jetter VIN number 1Z93BJ 2F65L119047 via online auction with public surplus.
Second.
Moved by Shane, seconded by Ann. Sorry, Sharon. Any other questions?
I looked away for a second.
All those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. And Maggie, action 19, the Morrison Drive modified petition to end.
Yeah, so this is just kind of a cleanup. I brought this to you already for this petition to annex. It's a piece of multifamily property. There were just some errors in the original petition that we need to clean up. And I've been working with the requester and the county on the legal description. Part of it was that the actual city boundary line doesn't include a little portion of the right of way. And so when I sent this to the county, they're like, you need to include the Mine Street right of way in this annexation, and else there's a gap. So this is just to modify that legal description and then to include some required conditions for RCW. So that's.
Hey,
The Leavenworth City Council moves to accept processing the proposed annexation of parcel number 2417111300150 with conditions recommended by staff as outlined in the draft petition.
okay, moved by Ann, seconded by Sharon. In anticipation. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hands. Passes unanimously. Go on to reports, Sharon.
Okay, on the 22nd, excuse me, I attended the block party, helping serve in the service area, passing out trays for burgers and hot dogs. On August 19th, attended via Zoom, the Chelan Douglas Health Board. Had a really bad connection and was hard, no one could hardly hear. So they don't really have a report on that. On the 19th, attended the mosquito board. Jenny Mullins, manager, reported that this year, the mosquito numbers caught in traps has gone down. The numbers were the highest in July. So far in Washington state, 6 mosquito pools have tested positive for West Nile virus, all of them in Yakima. On the 30th, let's see, the inclusive Osborne Playground grand openings happened. And I'm going to read a little bit about this. Tom Walkholder, the Public Works Director, John Sean's head of the Parks Department, Maggie Richter, Lisa Ravenel, Catherine Ferguson, and myself were on the planning committee. We started meeting in July of 2023 and continued with monthly meetings. We had originally decided to put in wood chips because it was way cheaper than, I can't remember the name of this stuff we have on the ground now. But I was reading the Wenatchee World. There was a picture in the paper of a mother and her 2 sons. One was in a wheelchair and one was in a walker. And the title of it was, I guess my boys don't matter. And I thought, oh, that just reached in and grabbed me. So when we went back to the next meeting, I brought that with me. And as a result, we have the service that you see there now. Lisa and Maggie have young kids and often go to parks wherever they drive or visit on trips. And so they were familiar with a lot of the equipment that is the most popular in these places that they go. We picked out colors for everything and tried to make it look bright and cheerful. I think it was about in the 5th month, I thought, what about the seniors? So went back to the meeting and said, can we have some equipment in there for seniors? So it truly is an inclusive park. Everybody was totally on board. And I see a lot of people that aren't seniors using that equipment and a lot that are. And there's places where, like Clint, Shane, Zeke maybe can jump up and grab and then do pull-ups and do it this way. So there's lots of things for even, the older kids in the that senior area.
Wait, that's
The entire, pardon me?
Yeah, dude.
You do have to jump pretty close. A lot of the, let's see, where am I here? We have a porta potty there now. I'm thinking it probably should be handicap accessible. The city has put one of those little things from the top of the curb down so that you can put your chair up on it. A couple of things were not put in right, but I think they got that fixed now. And I know I do this because I'm embarrassing myself, but I was so excited about the bench that swings. So I went over with my dog to watch everybody sat down on the bench. And it's so low that I thought, oh my God, I don't think I can get off this bench. In particular, because it's swinging, what am I gonna hold on to? So I finally got myself up in kind of a squatted position. And as people started to come over to see if they could help me, I managed to struggle my way up. So I'm hoping they'll put in some higher benches. I want to thank Bill Bauer, who was a former teacher at Osborne for 33 years. He was also the mayor at one time and on city council. And his little story that he told us was really tons of history on the Osborne building, the Osborne playground. So it was really good stuff. Also, Maggie Richter from our committee spoke to the crowd. I cut the ribbon and the kids ran through and scattered all over the place. I was amazed. I thought everybody would just get on a piece of equipment and go. No, they're crawling under it. They're doing just all kinds of inventive things. And I want to thank Taylor Caldwell for the Ward Media Echo article on opening day and for the pictures and information included. Want to thank Crunchback for the donation of apple treats. Then it's just I think it's a magic place to go. It's colorful, it's happy. The kids are all over everything. People are there after dark, not a lot after dark, and they're, right off in the morning. And I've seen some groups come in, a whole group. I think maybe that one of the schools that where the kids don't go to school, but they're in a program, came over. So I'm having a lot of fun watching everybody over there doing their thing. I went to the PC meeting as well as Steve did on Wednesday evening. And the first community visioning meeting last night. And I thought it was amazing. A lot of people. I'd like to know kind of where everybody was kind of from, were they mostly city people? I mean, not that that's necessary, but it's just kind of nice to know where the support is coming from for the visioning. So I think it's an exciting new thing to do. So I didn't say Carl was wrong, but Carl, you're right. So anyway, thank you all for listening.
Sharon, Clint.
My report will be brief. I did attend the block party. However, my perspective was one as an exhibitor, since I needed to be there primarily for Cascade Medical. But I just want to say, as I saw everyone pitching in from the city side, from administration to my fellow council members, it was an absolute joy to be there. I am appreciative and thankful for all of your efforts. It is amazing to see how that event has grown into kind of at least as a school age parent, the unofficial end of summer get together for the community where everyone gets together. It is truly highlights the fact that we are truly a community. And I just also want to extend my thanks to the playground committee that put so much work and evident love into that community resource. It's one that is going to be enjoyed and used for years and years to come. And the care and thought and intention that you put into that is readily apparent. So you have my undying appreciation for that, along with generations of kids to come. Thank you so much. And that concludes my report.
Great. And
How do I follow that?
Good luck.
I was looking at everything Clint said.
Second.
all in favor?
On the 15th, I attended the parking committee. The kiosk install is finishing up and the bollard placement is underway, which is going to be really great when that's completed as well, and those orange barriers are no longer around. But once the bollard placement is complete, they will be around a little bit longer as we transition.
There's also some that aren't going away.
What's that?
There are some that are not going away.
Where are they going?
Look, she's like, oh,
The ones on 8, they're not going away.
Oh, yeah. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, on the 20th of August, I attended the Link Transit Board meeting. A couple of fun takeaways. Link Transit continues to set records for monthly boardings, which is really impressive.
Oh.
Leavenworth for years has been the most traveled route. In July alone, we had, Link Transit had 115,000 boardings for the whole system. Almost 16,000 boardings of those were Route 22, the interlocal between Leavenworth and Wenatchee. In addition to that, the Express, the 122, had 1,000 boardings, and our new shuttle that started in July had 2,000 boardings.
Wow.
So we are definitely setting records up here in the Upper Valley for the use of public transit, which is really cool.
That is fun.
Use the shuttle, it's free and it's awesome.
So the block party's already been mentioned, so I won't, that's already well covered. I went to the PUD meeting, which had myself and about 4 of the people, besides Taylor. They were talking about the extension of, extending the present rate, but I figured I'd never been to one, so. Anyways, just a good discussion to find out how the PUD, you know, they do have some huge expenses on insurance and equipment, like transformers have kind of tripled in price. And so people kind of think with these big farms coming in, like they shouldn't be short on bucks, but it doesn't necessarily work out that way because of other costs. Insurance, especially because of the fire issue, has quadrupled. So it's like they're really dealing with some issues. But anyway, good that I went to that. I attended the planning commission meeting with Sharon. They had the public hearing on the unit lot line development. It's headed our way. And like I say, they did start on the inclusionary zoning, and they were looking at several different cities and what they did with it. And there's one from Hood River that looked like a possible way we could go. And then like I mentioned earlier about maybe the best plan is just to make it a joint session. So that's what we talked about that. The one I had really fun at was Saturday. I went to the loo for the lodge there, which was a gas always. There's another
gas.
They had kind of a slew of community events here, which was kind of nice to be on a roll with. And that was one of them. And then lots of good things have been already said about the festival last night. So that's my report.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, I wanna, I know the block party's been covered, but I wanna say what an honor it was to be there and as a council member and serve the community. It was really good to see everyone who showed up. August 29th, I attended a meeting with the Upper Valley Aquatic Boosters, and we discussed next steps going forward after, you know, the big push to get the levy passed. Some of the items that we talked about included setting up an annual work plan meeting and dividing up into committees. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the playground, and Sharon and Clint really covered that well. And I want to give, you know, all the kudos to the playground committee for helping make that happen. And yeah, it looks amazing. And then, yeah, I attended the community visioning workshop last night, and it was really awesome to hear everyone's perspectives, and it was nice to be there just to listen, you know, and not provide any feedback and just take it all in. That's the end of my report.
Rhoda.
Let's see. I agree that it was a great session last night. For me, a little too much sitting. I'll have to do more. But I thought Michael Nash handled it well. I appreciated that. Let's see. Selby and I met with the attorney for the city of Leavenworth last week because I was concerned, as were people in the community that spoke to me about what happened during the August 13th meeting, and was it compliant, was it legal, et cetera. Got a lot of good information, and some of it came out tonight in the rewrite that Andrea did, and then Selby's idea of doing a refresher on what proper parliamentary procedure is and what leadership should be, how the community should respond, how we need to look at that, how we need to support each other. All those are important refreshers, and I support that. And then my final point is, I was just looking down, realizing I'm wearing this piece of Indigenous jewelry, and that reminds me that Salmon Festival, which was here, it's a nationally award-winning festival, is here forever. It finally, it's happening, I think the September 21st. But it's going to be at the PUD's Rocky Reach Dam facility. So just to remind people that has been based in Leavenworth, and the Indigenous participation there is becoming bigger and bigger in the Northwest. It's almost its own powwow now. Plus, Corky Broadus is a good friend of mine. She's director, or I guess retired now. Anyway, she said they have 77 schools. So they're doing more environmental ed too, and reaching more people than they ever have in their history. So anyway, just, that all started in Leavenworth. Just wanted to shout out to that. It's been there for 2 years, I think.
Right, yeah, they moved in 2 years ago. That it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No big report, did
Travis.
Oh, I forgot Travis.
Yeah, sorry, I've been
I'm
quiet
not
for
facing
5
that.
minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Rona, you met with the attorney about what August 15th, what was
No, our last.
the question of legality of it? What was?
Yeah, there were some incidents that occurred there that I wanted to get clarity on.
What incidences, may I ask?
Yeah, well, it was the way the meeting was conducted, the back and forth with the people present. It wasn't conducted as it should have been, where people speak and then they're quiet, and then, the council gets to speak, and it was just done in such a fashion that it wouldn't be typically done that way. And then for my part, I was personally attacked there, and I had a number of people in the community that spoke to me about that and were upset about it. So I decided I'd find out what was, like Karen spoke about it tonight, but there are a number of people that were quite bothered. And so I wanted to find out, what is really proper there and what is legal. So I think that those pieces will come out as the education occurs with the in the retreat.
Okay, yeah, I didn't understand what you were seeking legal counsel on, or you're just trying to get clarification of legal proceedings. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
We have a couple, I learned this from Selby. So we have an ethicist that we can talk to. We have legal counsel. We have our own readings of the MRSC guidelines. We have our own codes that are written in, and how we handle parliamentary procedures. So there's different ways to get at how things ought to be occurring. So,
Gotcha.
that was just a choice I made. Yeah.
No, it's good. I didn't know if it was something you were taking legal action, or what you're meeting with the legal attorney about.
No. So what we would do if we want to take action on something that we see occurring in here that we don't think is ethical, is we would petition to the ethicist, because the city hires an ethical advisor. So that would be our, Selby can talk more about it, but anyway, there's some pieces there. Usually we wouldn't get into, but I happen to, so I'm trying to share with you.
Yeah, no, that's great. I just want to get some clarification on it. Those are good resources. The staff report, I wasn't on any, there were no staff meetings that I was on, or committee meetings. I was at the block party with everyone else. It was great to be a part of the community, and similar to the Fest Hall community visioning, it's pretty cool being face to face with the community, and some that don't disagree with maybe something that I voted on or we voted on. When they come through the line, you're handing them a hot dog. It was pleasant interactions, and it's nice to not be on social media and interacting, but face to face. And everybody in the city and the city council shows up, and it's really cool. We're not dodging people, and it was a really cool interaction both last night and at the block party. I attended the ribbon cutting for the park, the playground. Again, Sharon went over it. Amazing. Kudos to everyone involved, and I think it really came together pretty quickly within a couple of years or a year and a half. So all that dedication to that group, including Maggie, did a great job. And it was really cool. Sharon, you're right. Bill Bauer, it was really, really, really great to hear him speak and listen to his story. So it was really a great event. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Mine, just very briefly, Jenny didn't mention to you that you're having a state meeting on mosquito control boards or whatever it is in Leavenworth? Did you realize that?
Say that again.
Oh, this mosquito control board stuff. They're having their state gathering or whatever here in Leavenworth.
Over my head.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asked to come and welcome them to Leavenworth, so I get to, I get to put my mosquito costume on. I mean, my.
There is a mosquito costume.
I bet there is. No,
Who's gonna be the net?
Next week I go to Richland for Association of Washington Cities board meeting. And that's it for my report. Selby.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The most important update that I have for you tonight is the announcement that Maggie Bowles is our new Community Development Director.
We already knew that.
But you already knew that. And Andy Zelentek Backstrom is our new permanent Public Works Director. You didn't know that. So congratulations to you, Bull. We have officially closed on the car wash property acquisition. Staff will be evaluating the feasibility of converting the office space for use by the parking department. I did manage to get in it. It's a little rougher than I envisioned. It's a little rougher than I envisioned. But we bought it for the land. The implementation of the bollards on the now closed Front Street and 8th Street areas will begin on Monday, September 16th. So today staff went business to business with a letter and map about the project, and I'll explain to you how it's going to operate. Public Works will come through on the 16th and open up bollards so they can get their trash truck through, and so the delivery trucks can come through, and that'll be at 6 a.m. every day. And then at 11 o'clock, parking staff will come through, and they will all the bollards will be placed at Gustav's, the new bollards there. We will have all but one bollard placed in the other locations, and the gap in the bollards is so that emergency vehicles and of course carriages can make their way through. But it will definitely serve as an impediment for private vehicles getting through our closed pedestrian plaza in the future. The pool season was extended through this Friday. Staff will be meeting in the coming weeks to discuss how the season went and how we can improve. The area of liner that was repaired this spring is failing again. So if you go there, you'll see that's roped off in the zero entry depth section. Our hope is that we can conduct needed repairs this fall to avoid a delayed opening again next spring. And collective bargaining with Teamsters continues. We've received a draft compensation study from Cabot Dow Associates earlier this week, and we'll be meeting to discuss that with them tomorrow, and then sharing the final report with the union prior to our next collective bargaining session on October 1st. Yes.
When you said fixing the pool and you said is that city crew or is that
That'd be the contractor.
Okay.
Chantel.
So last meeting a month ago, I had mentioned that I was gonna bring you a resolution to release the final funds on the golf course lots. When I started to prepare that, I looked at the last resolution that we did, and we actually did already include release of the 50K. So it's locked in the budget. I just have to move it to an unlocked line item. So you've already taken that action. So you didn't get that tonight. Speaking of budget, things are a bit delayed. There's definitely a few very large items in play here. Capital improvements in particular is a huge one. And with that comes the utility rate study. So we do need to make decisions with the utility rate study before I can finalize the capital improvement processes. Andy and I and Selby had and Mayor Flory had a great meeting, hour and a half yesterday with HDR, Kevin, our presenter who was here last time. And we hammered out a lot of good questions and answers from what you guys have provided us. So Andy's prepping to do a presentation on September 24th. That'll talk a lot about water rates in particular. And then we have Kevin scheduled to follow up and come back so that we have a little time to take in what new comments you may have, work through those with Kevin. And then Kevin will come back in October for your October 22nd meeting to hopefully be able to give you those final pieces and help make those absolute final decisions on which direction we're going with the rates themselves for all 4 of the utilities. So we normally would give you a teaser type of presentation on how have we done with 23-24 and what are real base level preliminary numbers. We normally would be doing that tonight, but since all of these bigger pieces are out there with lots of questions still to be answered, we're going to hold off and we'll just incorporate that as part of our preliminary presentation that we will do in November. You are going to have a presentation in October because in October we will have the public hearing for the ad valorem property taxes in particular. So that'll come first and then we'll do the whole entire budget. The finance committee, you folks are going to definitely get some rough numbers at your September meeting this month. So I'm, like I said, I'm shoveling as fast as I can the numbers to get everything built in. Capital is a huge piece from a financial perspective for the entire budget across all the funds. Let's see what else I got. On this report, you'll notice that you have the July 24 finance report. That was last month's. Normally you would have had it, but since we canceled the meeting for the barbecue, you've got the July one. So on your next September meeting, you're going to have your August one. And I want to just clarify, I made a mistake earlier. I said the John Deere mower was surplusing. It's not the mower. That one's going to be next year. John wanted it for one more season. He does have an aerator though. So if you need an aerator, it's quite the aerator. Next week.
Last year.
Next week, I'll be out from Tuesday through Friday. I'll leave Tuesday afternoon. And Shirley, my deputy clerk, and I are going off to the annual WFOA conference that we attend each September. And just in closing, Osborne has, it's probably the pinnacle project of my career. It was very heartwarming. And when John came up to me and he had tears in his eyes, it was just the greatest feeling. So, thank you. Thank you for building it and letting me be part of it.
Thanks,
Chantel.
I don't have much. I was just gonna say, planning commission, we had our unit lot subdivision hearing. I'm gonna be bringing that to council as a study session item ahead of any action. So we can walk through it, make sure there's a clear understanding and need any work. And then that'll come to you, as an action item for later council meeting, not all on the same night. Want to kind of avoid some of those problematic issues and so.
How many comments in the public hearing?
We did not receive any public
Yeah,
comments.
okay.
And then, but we did also talk inclusionary zoning, and I do think it's a great idea to have a joint meeting because there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had, and we just keep going round and round in circles, and yeah, it's a big undertaking. So we'll be working on trying to organize something there. And then visioning was awesome. It was great to see the turnout to the community. Yeah, and I just appreciate your support, continued support and grace as I navigate this new role.
Well, I second what Maggie said. Yeah, I'm really excited about the future here and really excited to be in this role permanently and continue to ask questions of our crew and understand. There's still so much to learn, but I'm really excited to be able to undertake that. Also, as Maggie said, thank you for your patience. It is going, like, things are slower right now. And we're honestly both working on this together, trying to get through the double job thing, and it's a challenge. So thanks for your patience. We did receive really exciting news on Friday. We received a low interest loan, which is a pretty competitive process from the Public Works Board. We received $6.26 million. And so the high school road transmission main project that's currently in design will start on construction this spring. So it's really exciting. This is a pretty major water project that we need to undertake. So we're really excited that they selected our project for funding on that. As you probably all are very aware, we have 4 ongoing projects. The Glacier parking lot is moving along. If you've been by recently, it's actually looking quite real now. They'll be paving later this month. And it's planned to have substantial completion in mid-October. The bathroom will be done at that time. That'll be a later date, but the parking lot should be operational in October. So we can get parkers in there and start charging people.
How many slots?
I do not remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I did know that number at one point.
It's approximately 100.
100.
I was gonna say 93.
Yeah.
We also have the Front Street restroom project that's ongoing, but that was pretty self-contained, so luckily there's not a ton of project or community involvement in that one right now. But then we also have the street maintenance and scrub seal projects that both just started up on Monday. Clint got to experience firsthand when I promised that they were not going to go well, I meant it. It's just going to be a large challenge for the community right now. There's a lot going on. There's like both contractors overlapping. There's all sorts of different scopes on different streets that they're completing. So just bear with us. I promise the end result really will be worth it. I don't know if anyone's had the opportunity to look at Front Street, but our consultant was really strategic in the areas that we targeted in pavement repair, again, because we have pretty limited quantity on that project, but it is really going to reduce our trip and fall claims that we get in there. That's pretty exciting. And then if anyone's had the opportunity to look at Commercial Street, I don't know what they did today, but Commercial Street, at least yesterday between division.
Yeah, Travis is excited. He got a whole new street.
Street, I will promise, like, it's not gonna look that way forever. That was asphalt over poor pavement. We knew that on purpose. This is just to buy us more time. But I really think that this will show our residents that we know our streets are a problem, but this is our first investment in them, and from there we'll continue building. So that conversation will tie directly into the utility rate study presentation that we give you at the next study session. And anyway, really looking forward to that. I think this is a really cool time to be in Leavenworth right now, and really excited to be working with all of you.
Yeah, so you guys can't leave for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
You were just pointing at these two.
Yes, those two, the 2 on the end. Andy, what's the interest rate on that loan?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
I think
but it's
the,
low.
so we also got the $680,000 for design from that, and I believe it was about 1.3%.
Yeah, it's pretty low, and I'm maximizing as best I can to pay less interest as possible by holding submission of invoices that we have been paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars in invoices. That if I were to submit it and get the funds back, then the interest would start accruing.
Yeah.
So since we have good healthy reserves, I'm just hanging on to those invoices till I really need to.
Right.
Yeah, but
Cool.
I would expect this other one, I haven't seen the paperwork on that one. It's probably low. It's a federal.
It's not a state, it hasn't come through yet, but I looked, I can't remember if it's 1.3 or 1.7 that we have.
Anything under 2,
It's well under 2, yeah.
anything under 2.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? It passes. I'm surprised. See you next time.
See you next time.
Jane, I should have held you under.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for your help earlier, Selby.
Sharon, oh yeah, you're welcome. Sharon, I know you're always curious at how many people